That's going to be a trip hazard.
My sister goes, I thought you guys actually changed your look. I was like, no, we didn't.
All right, Brandon.
You ready?
Should we have the? I should probably take that off.
Jingle, jingle, jingle.
Yeah, no, that way I don't distract myself because that's definitely.
Good luck.
Cool. I'll take this one. Yeah, go for it, man. It's the speed mic. Did I have to turn this on?
Yes, you do.
Okay. So I turn it off and on again. That's the question. Testing, testing. Test it. Yeah, no, right. Trust me, I've already made that joke. You just can't hear me. Can you hear me now? Oh, goodness. So first off, thank you for coming. This is amazing. We're really glad that you're here. If we get boring, please throw things at us. That's why we give you the bags on the thing on the table. Exactly. See, we've already started. We got the snacks coming up here. Will work for Jolly Ranchers apparently. My compadre's almost here. Ready to.
I'm clipping as fast as I
He's
possibly
clipping as fast as he can, you know. Well, in that case, I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about myself. My name is William. A lot of you will know me as BJ. I know, right? Exactly. Long story. My name is very long. William Houston Wainwright Pote the fourth, and so my dad went by Bill. I'm Bill Jr. and a fourth. Go figure. So I'm a partner at eTop. I'm also the CEO of eTop Technology. We're an MSP in Southern California and the automation consulting company. I'm a farmer. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. You can find me Discord, LinkedIn, email, smoke signals. If you use smoke signals, please don't put them near my house, so that way we don't have fire planes driving over my house. I don't have goats, but I do have chickens and ducks. You can see on the bottom right here, we have a small flock of chickens and ducks. That's pretty much my life outside of the technology world. Very good.
Awesome. Is this working? It is working. All right.
Very well, yes.
Can I have the clicker, please?
Yes,
Thank you. I assume it's the right arrow.
I sure hope so.
Cool. I'm Brandon. You may know me by Giga. I go by that on most online spheres. I am another founding partner at eTop Consulting with this guy right here, for better or worse.
For better or worse. That's,
I'm also the senior tech manager at eTop Technology. I am a musician sometimes, and I'm also a part-time mountain goat. Onto the agenda. BJ, you'll be kicking us off today.
That's right. So doing a quick recap of eTop Technology and kind of where we started, the journey from startup to strategy.
Do you want to do the agenda?
Do it. Agenda? What are you talking about? There's the agenda. We're going to do lots of cool things. So welcome. Thank you for coming. I got ahead of myself already. We're going to talk a little bit about the eTop journey. A lot of fun there, actually. Kind of reminiscing about everything that's gone on in the last 15 years or so. We're going to talk about the foundations of automation. We're going to do some demos. We're praying that the demo gods actually work and let us reset the laptop fast enough. We're going to do a stretch and snacks around 2:30 for about 10 minutes or so. And then we're going to bring up an esteemed panelist group of a bunch of really amazing people here. They're very esteemed. No, they're not. Okay. Well, but they're still awesome. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap up. So eTop. Basically, the goal here is to do a real quick focus on like what's working, what's not working, and know that not every journey is going to need to be the same to be successful. So we founded in around 2011. We hired the first hire we made was my brother-in-law as a salesperson. I had been doing a ton of work for other MSPs as a field contractor, and then found out that they had bought a company in my area with a ton of employees already, and knew that I was probably going to lose 90% of my work. So I was like, let's start an MSP. How hard can it be? Yeah, hard. That's the answer. At the end of the day, someone introduced me to Reddit, MSPRs, Discord, and then you start asking all the dumb noob questions. That was me, definitely at one point. Within the first year, we gained close to 70 companies that came to us. Took anyone that could pay, or not in some cases. But then it allowed us to really iterate and grow and figure out what did or did not work. So enter tools, because that's obviously the fix for everything, right? So as we went through, we started with QuickBooks, added on, Autotask. We were in Autotask for 5-6 years, and then I got tired of losing Windows and switched to ConnectWise, so I lose Windows there now. So then we're like, okay, well, we have all of these endpoints and all of these users that we're needing to support. We obviously need some kind of endpoint management platform. And that was back in like the Hound Dog, GFI Max era of the RMM. And I was like, okay, this is really cool. And then I was like, okay, level platforms, like this is definitely going to fix all of our problems. And I was like, okay, that didn't fix them all. Let's go to Automate. That's definitely going to fix all of our problems. Come to find out, it's not always about the tools, but we'll get to that in a minute. We thought we had it figured out. Obviously, we had to buy IT glue because, you got to have documentation, right? I was every vendor's favorite buyer. Like I'd walk in and basically walk out with everything, which has its problems. We grew, the cracks started showing. What we came to find out is that it's all about the people. You can throw tools at the problem all day long, but at the end of the day, if you don't have people that are all kind of rowing the same direction and knowing what the company is trying to do, you're in a world of hurt. One of the things that we are continuing to work on is really shortening the feedback loops, both with our clients and with ourselves, because if you don't do that, people don't know where they stand. We work really hard on clear expectations inside of our company. And as a result, like we have a really phenomenal team. Like Brandon, holy cow, like he's amazing. Right, exactly. He deserves a full round of applause. At least 3 claps. So that's great, right? But what now? What do we do? So we have all these really amazing people. We've been really working on expectations, but then we have this whole process revelation. One, obviously processes will save us, right? Like that's a big part of it. We had this long game plan of like, we need roadmap. Building documentation, and going, well, why isn't it working? Like we're still kind of tired, we're still kind of stressed out, we're still not having things delivered consistently. At the end of the day, there was still too much tribal knowledge. One of the best investments we made into our company on the eTop side 2 or 3 years ago was starting with C-level operations that is now Pax8 Academy. Diving in with a coach who's going to hold your feet to the fire if you're not doing the right things has helped us so much on like this overall journey towards what automation looks like. Because as Aaron likes to say, we also say a lot, without a process, you can't automate it, right? And the goal is to start building these processes so that way you have a very clear path forward for your team. And there's a big difference between a how-to guide and how to run your business. Over the last 3 years or so, we've grown our knowledge base from probably about 50 articles to just under 500, 550, somewhere in there. And that's just our global knowledge base. One of the things that's helped the most in the whole global knowledge base for us is we have a very standardized way we deploy things for our client base. And so 90% of our knowledge base applies to 95% of our client situations. Simply having that consistent standard everywhere for us has just been insanely game changing. Now we only have to document the exceptions for our clients. That makes it a lot quicker to onboard. Here's what our automation success looked like. The journey we actually wanted is obviously the one on the left and the right, depending on who you're looking at it. And the one we had actually is the one on the right. We're still solidly on the right side, but it's going the right direction. So what's working? Some lessons learned along the way that we've had at eTop here. Start small. I'm very much what do we want to automate? Everything. How big do we want to do it? All the things, all right now. And then when actually asked, what does that mean? I couldn't come back with a clear answer. And still one of my favorite automations we've deployed with Rewst is the contact sync to 365. Literally just have licensed users coming in from 365 that keeps our ConnectWise contacts clean. that sounds silly, but it was very, very simple, but it works. We don't have to think about it. A client gets offboarded, the PSA contact gets deactivated. We now have a very accurate list because of this one very simple automation. And at the end of the day, our goal has been to aim for consistency, and our efficiency has grown like crazy. Does it make us faster? Yes, absolutely it does. But when we stopped having to do the rework, that also made us faster. Every time we stopped having to do something again for the first time, or doing it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, it saves us days of time. And then we've shrunk our stack a lot in the last 2 years. I believe we've dropped almost all of Sophos out of our stack and are leaning very heavily into a refined Microsoft Defender plan, and then layering that in with Huntress. And we have so many less portals we go to. Like, we are dropping the amount of tools we support dramatically, and then making sure that we configure what we have better. To me, like, that has been just absolutely game changing, because now we can deploy it with SIP, be way more consistent right out of the gate. And our team knows exactly what to expect at every single client. So how are we doing? Over the past several years, we've grown consistently 20 to 30%, and our headcount has stayed the same. I think we've hired one person in the last 3 years, or other than replacing. We are religious about our standards following. Like, if you don't meet the standards, you are not a client. Not that we don't love you, not that we can't be friends, but it's too big of a risk to me. It's too big a risk for our team to cause fires that could have or should be preventable. We have some amazing people like Robbie, Brandon, like the people that are home, they're supporting our team here while we're out, are incredible. Processes are key. We combine some amazing tools to do some really incredible stuff. And we have this just relentless enthusiasm to improve 1%, 2%, 3% per day. And every single day we come in, we try hard, and we push towards better. My partner is incredible at this as well. Every single person on our team is just this incredible growth-minded, growth mindset that is improving our company every single day. Coaching is a huge accelerator. It might feel like you're just throwing money, but if you feel like you're just throwing money, it probably means you aren't doing the work. And it doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be PAX 8. It doesn't have to be. Choose something and do it, and then show up and do the work and do the work. And it's hard work, but it has such a profound impact on your business. And then we kind of back to the selling only a client. Like, I refuse to work with people that aren't going to work with us. There's a lot of other MSPs that are going to be a good fit for them. That's not going to be us.
Robbie, we want to thank you, Robbie, stage. You have a minute to talk about kind of what he thinks from the front line.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
He's totally being put on the spot here.
Outside of the people who are making the rules, I want to
Hashtag zero prep.
this is going to be fully candid. Kind of what you
stand right here, because you need to be on the camera.
And the camera.
The other part of the live stream.
We want your answer.
So, from your perspective as a tier 2 technician, taking the front line front of tickets and escalations from dispatch, what do you think out of everything so far is probably the biggest benefit to your job as far as processes, automation, client choice? How does that kind of improve your day-to-day?
To help with my day-to-day, the client's day-to-day is huge. Even when you have the most complicated tickets and you have this process-driven focus, you go from a complicated issue that seems to be that one unicorn that drags out for 4 to 6 hours, goes a week and a half sometimes on some random issue that it was just a setting all along, to having a consistent baseline that you can have the endpoint wiped, use automated tools, have a strategy that's already painted out in documentation because your team's already done that before. It's delightful. Trying to go from Wild West of you're trying to troubleshoot everything with just Googling it, to having a database of, hey, we have this one Sage integration that was one customer uses, and it's so thoroughly documented and it's already half automated. It's a completely different perspective of years of doing it cowboy.
If you could give one piece of advice going from all the different MSPs that you've gone through, all the way up to eTop, to MSP owners in the room who are making decisions on how to manage their team and their resources effectively, what would you give them from your perspective?
Give them as far as
like advice to make their team happier and more effective at what they do.
Yeah, don't just keep the information in your head, map the process, and if you have a tool, whatever the tool may be, like BJ was speaking to, utilize those tools to try to not only have it documented to show how it works when it breaks, but then have that line of communication and the change log to show when it happens. That's been paramount, I think, is the one I can pick off the top of my head, completely candid, off of my brain.
Good. Awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
Are you the bouncer before you go over?
I am. I gotta stop a lot of
Just
people.
keeping people out. Exactly.
Gotcha.
We ran out of seats.
We'll go back on the
Exactly. Exactly.
So lucky.
Honestly, one of the funnest things to think about is how the automation works. So we had a tax office. They're one of our lowest performing clients, but I digress.
Everyone could give a big hand for Intuit.
Oh, kill me now. No, we actually got the CPA office set up with Autopilot and Cloud Kerberos, and we're resetting laptops resetting their stuff over lunch and having everything redeployed by the time they got back. Saved so much time, like an hour for a complete reset and full reinstall of everything. The cert may have taken a little bit longer, but it was crazy.
Not really.
Yeah, it was about an hour start to finish for everything.
Yeah.
But results, overall, like our team is so focused on this. Okay, sorry. After several years of like really focusing on this like efficiency progress, I think Rewst we've been with for about 3 years now. ImmyBot we've been with for 4 or 5 years. SIP, for instance, pretty close to the beginning. It's been quite a while. Like our team has been just crazy focused on this. Adding in the PAX8 Academy / C-level operations has been really huge for us. And it helped us to start understanding what we needed to measure. And one of the things that they talk about a lot with us is this thing called agreement efficiency. And they say that 0.8 to 1.5 is basically what best in class looks like. And then over the last 3 years, our average agreement efficiency has gone from around a 1 to just under 1.5 as the average across our entire client base. And our goal is to push that between 1.5 and 2 over the next year. The vast majority of our agreements sit at 2. We should have the tax office, or a couple of tax offices that are really dragging that down, and they're either going to be fired or we're going to get them completely right-sized so that they bring up our agreement efficiency numbers. Outside of that, clients are super sticky with us. Like our clients love us. Like we work with them very hard, but because of that, like our team is small. Like we're able to be very focused on them and their needs. Even when people are out, our team delivers so well that you don't even feel like somebody's gone half the time. Something I did a little math. So in the first quarter, we did almost 90 on and off boards across our client base. So we support just under 1,000 users, and we had 2 techs doing the majority of that work. And that was only a very small portion of what they did that quarter. The automation there is it's almost perfect. And then in almost 90% of our equipment scenarios, we are direct shipping it from Dell with Autopilot enabled. And so we're just having it pre-enrolled into 365. It shows up, they log in with their 365 credentials, and it just works. It has taken us a lot of time to get there, but it has been a really amazing thing for us. So what's next? Continued growth with that purpose. Again, it's finding those right-sized clients where we know that we're going to be able to really deliver for them, and they have to be on the same page with us. Like our team, again, only bringing on the right clients for us. How do we go to that hyper efficiency while still being like really serving our clients? Outside of that, operational excellence through automation is big for us. And the reality is everything's evolving. Like this could all completely change within the next year. It's unlikely, but the reality is we tweak and we change and we grow so fast. We had somebody, an employee who went on maternity leave, and she came back and was like, it's an entirely new company because so much had been improved and changed in that basically 5 months she was out. But outside of that, on to Brandon.
DJ is so excited for Summer Games on Quick coming up in the next few months here that he speed ramped this presentation segment. We are about 10 minutes ahead of schedule.
Yes!
I'm going to ask you some questions.
Oh man.
We're not done yet.
I talk fast. Yeah, what's up?
In the start, you said you are using less and less vendors.
Yes.
What does your vendor selection process look like right now?
A lot of it is can we integrate with it? Can we build our own automations from it?
Do they have
Does
the
it-
API, and does the API suck?
Yeah, well, and honestly, a lot of it is what does their community look like? Because if they have a community, there's going to be a lot faster ramp up period for us. To me, I think that's one of the things that like all three of these companies have done is have a really amazing community between multiple Discords, multiple places. Like it's so much easier to be able to jump in and just capture that knowledge fast. But yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned a few automation platforms there. You mentioned SIP, you mentioned
Rewst and ImmyBot.
Rewst and ImmyBot. How much overlap are you seeing between Rewst and SIP? Or are you kind of just using them in tandem, like
Yeah.
Rewst to yank in from SIP to XYZ? Reason I ask, we're currently onboarding, well, not onboarding, over the past few years, we've been going into Halo,
Okay.
and AI is all over the place.
Sure.
So I was just kind of curious.
To me, they're super complementary. Yes, there's some overlap, but the reality is like to me, SIP is one of those platforms that you'd be silly not to have. Like it's a fantastic. I mean, for the price point, like sponsor it. Like just sponsor it. Let them handle it. Like they do a fantastic job. I mean, I'm a total SIP fanboy. Rewst and ImmyBot, like they fit into their own kind of lanes a little bit. And is there overlap? Yeah, there is overlap, and we could probably make each one of the platforms do more of what the other platform is doing. But the reality is like, let's lean into the strengths of each one, and we've tied them together. And we actually dropped our RMM like 6 months ago, and nobody's missed it. So
Can confirm, I don't miss it.
yeah.
What is your hot take on ConnectWise Automate, Robbie?
They might be in here, I'm not allowed.
So are we all handling like remote access if you need to? And you did
Sure.
Just like Screen Connect?
Yeah, we kept Screen Connect. Like ImmyBot's remote access is like 7 out of 10 for Connect or Screen Connect. It's getting there. Like we use it in a pinch a lot.
It's a great backup.
It's a killer backup. I'm waiting for them to develop it a little bit more, and then my goal would be to drop Screen Connect at some point. But
You keep looking at me. We're trying to get 80% parity with Screen Connect.
if we get 80% parity, we might drop Screen Connect. Sorry, Robbie. Yeah, at the moment we're just keeping Screen Connect because it is that good. 1 second. Yes.
Dropping your RMM tool, how do you get like hard drive alerts or fail logging attempts?
Sure.
Like that?
Rewst and ImmyBot.
Okay.
Yeah, we basically can do the same reach in. I mean, ImmyBot surfaces all the information, and so then at that point we just figure out what we want and we reach in and grab it. It's actually allowed us to be a lot more thoughtful about the monitoring that we do. For us, like endpoints have become just pure cattle. Like we expect that we're going to just reset the thing rather than spend more than about 30 minutes working on it. Servers are a little bit of a different story. Like we can't just completely flush those and start over, but like about 80-90% of our devices, and by the end of the year, I'd expect 100% of our devices, like we just reset and start over, like if there's too big a problem. So
Yeah, they kind of gave the question to us of like, what alerts do we actually care about? Like if a service stops and restarts itself, is that something we're actually going to action on, or is that going to sit on knock board until we have some reason to go pull the alerts out of it? So like the things that we maybe monitor at endpoints outside of the just reset it is disk space. That's a big one for us. Disk health. ImmyBot is querying for their agent the total used storage and total capacity of the disk. So we ask once a day. Typically, you're not going to go from 20% left to 0% in a 24-hour period. So every morning,
Hope not.
hopefully not. If you do, there's something else wrong.
They took the laptop home off a filtered network.
But we have Rewst to ask ImmyBot every morning for all the devices in your tenant. What's the remaining percentage of storage? If it is less than, I think it's 15% is our target on there, is storage sensitive. If it's not enabled, we go ahead and enable it, let it run for a day, and then check again tomorrow. If it is enabled, then okay, this is something we need to look at. Maybe it's a legacy device that hasn't been reset yet, so there's like .old profiles in there. So at that point, we make a ticket, and we go to the technician, and they say, go ahead and check this out backstage, see what's up. If it is something that we can clean up, go ahead and do so, resolve the ticket. And then because the alert is trigger based on the storage itself being low, there's no further steps. once the ticket's closed, it's not going to recur again. Assuming that we do what we need to do to clean up the storage.
And resetting the laptop is the answer a lot of the time. I think you had a question and then,
That covered it.
okay, cool, yes. Okay. Anything else?
Yes, back to efficiency.
Oh, yes.
I want to spend a little bit more time on that. Can you talk a little bit about what an efficiency ratio is and why you don't want it to be just 999?
Oh goodness, this is gonna take longer than 30 minutes.
You have 4.
I have 4 minutes, okay, speak
Got
up.
this.
Okay, cool. So effectively, the efficiency ratio, as taught us, is basically, if you take an agreement that's, we'll call it $5,000, and you subtract $1,000 in hard costs, so software, you have basically $4,000 in labor left. And if you're doing $200 an hour, your shadow billable would be 20 hours a month. And if you do, if you bill 15 hours against that 20-hour budget, you're like about a 1.5. So you're doing better than your average $200 an hour. But if you bill 25 hours against it, you're a lot closer to a 0.75 or under. And so effectively what that means is if you're at like a 5 on your agreement ratio and you're only billing like 3 hours a month against the agreement, your client's probably going, what are you even doing here? But if you're billing 40 hours against the 20-hour agreement, your client's probably going, please leave. I don't want you here anymore. And so it's that constantly that finding that balancing act of doing enough work for your client without doing too much work. That sounds maybe funny to say it that way, but like our goal is to do about a 1.5 to 1.7 for our clients. So if out of 20 hours, we'd probably do about 13 to 14 hours of work on that client per month. But we're really letting that other 7 hours be filled up by automations and consistency and not having to do the rework. And so that saved us a lot of time personally.
So are you counting that? That's really interesting. Are you counting the automation time spent as though it's human time spent to arrive at those efficiency numbers?
No, so
Depends.
there's a few things that we have tied in with a automation user.
Right.
I'm reluctant because the automation user is going to be billed a little differently, right? And so it's not got a burdened rate. It's not going to be handled the same way. So are we tracking the amount of time saved? Yes, absolutely.
No, on your side, tracking the time saved, but if a customer said, how did we do this month? Are you counting not your savings?
Sure.
What it would be reasonable and commensurate to charge against the agreement? Are you putting it in there with no cost? So you can be time spent, but you're not picking up the cost of goods, so to speak. Are you doing that?
So we're not doing that in that methodology because everything we do is like we're 100% managed service. Like we have no block hours, we have no time and materials. And so as a result, like I'm not having ticket conversations with clients. Like it's like they don't submit as many as you want. Like we're here to take care of it. We may have to get to that point at some place, but I know that we've worked with a couple of clients that had block hour agreements, and like that was a really big concern for them, just simply because what happens when you're suddenly doing what you need to do faster and you're not pulling down the agreement fast enough. And so like they were they really wanted to do, like make sure that every hour that was saved by Rewst was documented as a person basically. And so it's because of how our model is set up, it scales pretty well. And like the clients really care about the outcome. They don't really care about how much they talk to us. So at least that has been my experience.
Yeah, the tricky conversation is, would we have been doing this anyway without automation? Or are we checking it just because we can? It's a good thing to check, but if we're going to bill 5 to 10 minutes of time for every single endpoint and every single customer 3 times a day for some sort of check just because we can, that starts to muddle up the numbers. When you're talking about things like user onboard, offboard, very visible processes, those are more the things we can start blending into your efficiency. So it is kind of a balance, and it really does depend on how you are doing your billing. That being said, the Windows 11 startup sound was eliminated from the podium means that you are all done, BJ. Thank you.
All right, you said what's next? Oh yeah, we were doing that side. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He went back. Okay. All right, foundations of automation. Go for it, man.
You're not totally off the hook. This is a part of you too.
Oh, it's me too. All right.
So we're going to be focusing on picking the right processes versus tools, documentation first, automation second, these sorts of things. So kind of restating a lot of what BJ said from his owner operational mindset, but also talking more about it from the tech side. And then after that, the reward for sitting through the PowerPoint is a live demo of us setting up a new tenant, fully fresh as if we just acquired them as a customer today.
Because we did.
We have,
I mean, not for real client, but it's a brand new tenant as of like 3 hours ago.
yeah, we had to figure out how to demo 10. That was nice. It was a fun adventure. Put the clock ticking down. But we're going to get it all the way through, and we're going to have a laptop hopefully go through Autopilot onboarding on the screen. So why automate? So how many of you have ever had to manually onboard someone at 5 p.m. on a Friday because you got told at 5 p.m. on a Friday someone very important was starting Monday morning, and then you realize
That never happens.
never happens. We always get exactly 72 hours of notice ahead of time.
And they need equipment.
Yeah. But you run through it, you're like, fine, I'll get it done. And then you're laying down, you're just about to fall asleep, and your brain goes, did you remember to set this up too? Because this client needs this one specific thing that nobody else has. And then you have to figure out, am I going to go to sleep now, or am I going to have to do this Saturday morning?
Well, and I had a thought and it's gone. What was it?
That's okay, that happens sometimes.
Yeah, go for it.
So that's why we started automating. It's easy to call on the time savings, but we forget about the consistency aspect of it well, especially when you do have those special customers. You want to say, this is going to be the exact same process for everyone, and if you don't like it, you're not a customer of ours, but that's not really how it works in the business a lot of times. Sometimes you do have to have 1 or 2 follow-up actions. There's a specific shared mailbox you need to give them access to. There's a specific profile picture you need to tag onto it. So yeah, we can say our average user onboarding went from 90 minutes to 15 from the time we click in progress on the ticket to the time we hit resolve and send the email saying it's done. But we're also not including the time that we don't have to go back and rework stuff, especially when it's outside of the hours we typically would want to.
Well, and kind of the second part of why do we automate? Again, it was leaning back into that consistency leading to efficiency. Clients will give us a lot more leeway for like a server migration because in their minds it is perceived as complicated. But setting up a new user, you do that all the time for us. And how did you screw it up again? I hated having that conversation. Like it was routine, right? Then you start going, well, but it's like a 90-step process to set up your user that we did by memory and we missed one thing. Like you do that. And there was a reminder that like, that's why we kind of really just backing our way further and further into like automating user on and off boards for our company, just because we wanted to I never wanted to have that conversation about did we set the user up properly again? And I can't really think of the last time I've had it. Again, clients have this perception that it's super easy and it's actually one of the more complicated things.
Wouldn't a checklist solve that?
Which?
Wouldn't just a general checklist for companies solve that? I mean, it's not recommendations, but you just have to go through a checklist.
Yeah, well, but that's assuming that they went through the checklist every single time and, they told you everything they needed up front. It's totally, that's part of the people and expectation thing that we talked about. And that's definitely a big part of the plan. But again, it's like, if you could just remove that from being a problem.
My counter is people are people. You do the same set of 7 tasks over and over again, day after day. You're going to probably forget one of them every once in a while. I mean, it's not just because you're slacking, you're not doing good enough, but because you're a person. And that also leads into a lot of the tech morale as well. Robbie, how many steps do you think onboarding-wise you did in a given week before we started getting Rewst on board and doing these client onboards through forums?
I don't know if we had Robbie before Rewst.
Did we not have it before Rewst?
Oh, no, I was doing a couple manual for the beginning for sure.
And how fun was that?
It was awful. It was like up to like an hour and 45 a ticket, and then there was still 30% of the stuff missing. And yeah, now it's a click a button, re-verify that those were done, and maybe the 1 or 2 off things at the end of the 5-minute verification. It's nice.
Yeah, I mean, repetition kills creativity. When your techs are stuck doing the same 10 things over and over again, you're going to burn out your most valuable resources, and they're not going to have enough time to do the thinking that they need to do as far as like what we've started at eTop, see something, say somethings. When you're constantly drowning in complicated process work, you don't have time to stop and go, I mean, that's one of the core values of our company. We added on just, We want to encourage people to stop and think, could this be different? What can I do to bring value?
Could it be done better?
Could it be done better? And that brings value to both the company, but also the individual technician, because they feel seen and heard, and they're not chasing, they're not laying the track down as they're going through tickets all day.
Drew.
I think it should be pointed out though that process, if you have documented, is the foundation of what you're going to automate later.
Oh,
yeah.
It's just as important.
Have you seen the slide deck, Drew? Because
Sorry.
No, I agree completely.
Yeah.
One last note to that onboarding. We have a team member named Jamie. She always calls it her crystal ball, going back to the human form. We used to not like onboarding because it's like, oh, who's gonna get it? Because we didn't fill out the form correctly. We don't have a crystal ball to know what you want it. Now we don't worry about that. Onboardings are kind of our better ticket of the day. We get them, we know it's because we got our automations that have set us back, and really, if they didn't check the box, it's still checking those things that are company standard. It has our back. So we feel good about those tickets.
So, picking the process. There is a question. We'll take one more, then we got to move on.
Have you guys started with making any kind of form that your clients have to fill out?
Yes.
Do their own thing?
Yeah, so we had a Cognito form that was done manually where they would fill out the information and there were checkboxes on there like, I want them to be in this group. And then we get a call back with like, why didn't you add them to this group that wasn't checked off in the form? So one of the things we're able to do is sit down with them and go department by department. If someone is in the workers' comp department, what are the groups they should be added in? So you don't have to remember which groups to check on the form, you just check which department they're in and then it integrates it based off of that. But picking the process. So not every process should be automated. I know you might expect me to come up here and be like, automate all things, and it's fun and it's good to do, but some of them are complicated. Some of them are inconsistent. Some of them are begging for automation though. I think one of the big wake-up calls for us was not only just user onboards, but device onboards as well. I think I got onboarded after we had picked up Immy, or it was very shortly after I came on board. So I want to turn it to you to give a little bit more information on how we did our onboardings before we had ImmyBot.
We had this overly complicated script and automate that worked about 75% of the time.
Which is impressively high.
Which is impressively high for automate. Honestly, like I got onto the Immy train pretty darn early. It was just one of those tools where I'm like, okay, but the whole desired state mindset to me just was like, it's stuck in there. And I was like, oh, that's what we need to do. Because like the goal isn't, setting up the machine is only half the job. And the goal was to keep it at that place. And so like our drift, like we basically run an Immy session every single day on every single endpoint. And it means that we're never more than about 24 hours from something being updated. It saves us so much time. Chrome's just updated, Edge is just updated. I mean, like all of these things just happen. I don't even think about it. It's like we see a CVE release for something, and as long as it's not one of the edge case line of business apps, I know it's taken care of within 24 hours.
I mean, it's a day that ends a day. Have you updated Chromium and have you updated your Fortinet and Avante appliances?
Fortinet would like a word.
They're not here. So
so when we first started using ImmyBot, we very much leaned into the PPKG file that was on a thumb drive. And so we would just start by plugging that in, and ImmyBot would fire hose set up a laptop. Now we're like we're really heavy into Autopilot and Intune. And so we literally just ship the laptop in box to the client after registering it in the Dell portal with a tenant ID. They add it to the Wi-Fi. We spend 5 minutes on the phone with them and then check in an hour later. And it's all done. So again, there's a few, like say, we still haven't gotten Sage 100 completely automated, though we're probably 95% of the way there. We got Lacert completely automated.
Lacert updates.
That was really cool. And that's just the things that we built. The reality is like if you spend enough mind power to it, you can make just about anything happen. So
You guys managed to automate Lacert updates?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Can confirm. It's beautiful.
It brought a tear to my eye.
Like, we all celebrated. We had a party.
And then we all laid out in the parking lot and took a nap because it was a long day.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it any faster. It just makes it more consistent. It
updates faster, so it gets fresh patches to break it that much sooner during tax season.
Exactly. Real talk here.
As far as picking the processes, you want to find the things that are repetitive. User onboards, password resets. Is it boring? If it's boring, then that's probably something you want to figure out. Can I automate that? Is it high volume? If you're doing something more than 10 times in a week or even in a month, does it affect the client directly? That's the sort of thing you're looking for. Is it something that you do maybe once or twice a quarter? Is it worth spending 6 hours to automate a task that actually costs you maybe 2 or 3 hours to get done once or twice a year?
The XKCD comic is very accurate on the repetitive piece. I very much started with I want to do all the things, and then realized that we did it like once a quarter, and it was a real painful process once a quarter, but it wasn't worth dropping 50 hours to make it work.
Yeah.
And so back to the, like, smaller is better. Like the small processes that are repeatable that you can forget about, those are the ones that you really want.
And is there consistent steps to it? Is there a step-by-step process a human can follow, or is it a lot of every time you have a need to call the customer and ask them what do they want to happen this time around? Not because it's a failure on our side to document it, but because the customer just doesn't have a process, and for whatever reason they can't have one, or it's not up to us to give them one. You can still automate some of that, but that's not something you want to spend a whole lot of time on before the process even exists, trying to start breaking into.
We will oftentimes even have Jamie, one of our team members, sit down with a client and help them build out a process. And then you realize it's the first process they've ever made on a $70 million a year company. That has blown my mind. Like, it is astounding to me how some companies are able to run, and they have grown to the size with pure muscle and feel. And they have, like, basically, it's 100% tribal knowledge. And so our job is to try to help them kind of come out of that and build their own knowledge base so that way they can function more efficiently.
And I think that's what makes us that much more sticky too as a provider, because we're having those conversations with our customers. It's not just is your computer up and running, it's almost like an office-based interview. Like, what is it you actually do here? Like, walk me through each of these processes.
So TPS
chances
reports, I brought a stapler, guys.
Yeah. But I mean, chances are people just kind of do whatever they need to do at any given point in time. And when you start bringing in that operational efficiency, not because you want to add a new line of business and start doing that consulting for customers, but because you've already lived it and you are trying to drive that value in the agreement, and you have the room to do it, that's something that no other MSP in your area is probably going to be able to do for someone.
Well, and that's, when we talk about agreement efficiency, if we're too high, we will take that time and put it into helping the client build out processes and make their time more valuable, which then in turn makes it easier for us to do our job better and be more efficient. And so it becomes kind of that positive reinforcement cycle versus like this negative reinforcement cycle, which oftentimes happens. And it's definitely happened to us in the past and probably will happen to us again in the future. But like the goal is to consistently go, how do we help your business be better? So we can then make it easier for ourselves to do the thing, become more consistent and more efficient.
You know,
The thing, exactly. Do the thing.
Do
Exactly.
all the things.
Yeah, exactly.
all the things, yes.
exactly.
And another question is, what is the trigger for it? Is it an event that is going to regularly happen that you can look out for? Is it something that you're just kind of every once in a while checking because you feel like it? And then is that a question of, can I change that? Can I make a process for when this happens? Or is it just, there's just no reasonable way to figure out when this is going to happen? At that point, it becomes the question of, is that worth it to build the automation around it? Is this something that, at least for the time being, until we can change the overarching process that makes this an inconsistent thing, we just document the heck out of it and we keep it as is. And then lastly, quick ROI, don't overbuild. The fastest wins, and especially the ones that you kind of forget are running, are the best kinds of automations. The one we always go back to is PSA contact sync. When someone in 365 gets a license and they're enabled, they become a contact in ConnectWise. They are enabled. When they lose a license and they become disabled, they are no longer marked active in ConnectWise. This happens twice a day, once a day, somewhere around there.
Once a day.
But how much time is your team, assuming your team is keeping your contacts and PSA up to date manually, spending doing that, enumerating every single user out of a list to figure out who is actually still a user? And then that drives other areas of the business too. Finance. When finance needs to bill people, especially if you're billing on a per user basis or you're billing on software, how do they know that the correct count is in there? Can they trust your PSA's contact list?
It's good.
Yeah.
So we're still in process. Process before automation. A bad manual process is going to be an even worse automated process. If your process isn't clear or broken, automation is not going to fix it. It's just going to make it worse.
It's going to help you do bad things faster.
Exactly. Being the person who normally builds the automation, I want you to embarrass me and tell me about a time that I made something that caused potentially more problems than it solved. And I also have an example if you can't think of one, which hopefully you can, because that makes me feel a lot better about myself.
I think you usually fix it before I know that it's a real big problem. Yeah. I know, right, exactly.
Robbie, for our favorite customer that does tile manufacturing, last time you went to Voodoo, how many mailboxes, documented calendars do you think they had in there?
Far too many.
Far too many.
Far too many.
Like 13 or 14 times the actual user.
I got a good one.
Okay.
Someone that was supposed to do this process, and they don't do processes, gave us bad Intune QuickBooks keys, and they use multiple versions of QuickBooks. We decided to say, hey, we're going to make sure it's all patched, done in the process. We have all the keys. It was all blessed. We had a nice conversation. All the keys got put in there and pushed out all the keys to the entire company for individually installed endpoints. And suddenly everyone was unlicensed solo in a split moment. So bad documentation at the start really pushed that process forward to make sure everybody was down at once.
Luckily, we could fix it as fast once we got the right keys. But
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah. An example.
Helps us do stupid things faster.
Yeah.
An example of an internal
With
process
great
that went kind of wrong with those calendars and mail contacts. The process for getting people documented in Hoodoo was to go in, figure out what permissions the mailbox has, and make a contact for it. And I said, cool, I can do that. What am I missing here? If it runs every morning and then just adds a new contact every time it sees a contact in Exchange and there's no further checks. We had 7,000 mailboxes in about 2 weeks at a company that does not have 7,000 users.
Why does Hoodoo feel so slow?
And the best part is we self-host our Hoodoo, so it was my problem. But yeah, that in, that out. And the best way you can figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work is involve your technicians. The procedures in Hoodoo IT Glue say one thing, but is the person doing it every day actually doing it differently? Because there's something in that process that's missing or not documented, but nobody's actually gone inside and updated it. Take time to sit down, whether it's defining a new process or just spot checking one before you actually implement it, is show me what you do. Just like when troubleshooting, show me the problem is such a powerful phrase. Show me the process is equally as powerful internally. And as best as you can, identify your edge cases early. If Alden in this room, if he is.
He's in the back somewhere. Oh, he left?
No, he left.
He left? What?
What?
We can't be friends
He
anymore.
wanted me to call him and bring it in on this, so he missed his chance. Identify your edge cases early. You can't always identify all of them, but if an automation hits a point where it terminates for a failure, that's not a signal that the automation is broken. That's a signal that you haven't encountered something in your process yet. If you run through something and you get a response from your system saying, error, could not enumerate this because we're missing information, do you want the automation just to crash? Or do you want to then go and say, let's have a note to the ticket saying that we couldn't proceed because we're missing this piece of information that you need to add in. Once you add it, click here to resume me. Try to pre-think and again, ask your team, what is the most common kind of side case that comes out of things when you try to run this and there's something else you have to clean up as a prerequisite beforehand.
Don't just involve your techs, involve your operations people, involve your dispatch team, involve your finance folks. Automation should be for everyone, not just for tech. Some of our biggest gains have come from automating internal like finance operations. Like saves us tons of time and have a much happier partner. So
lastly, standardize the inputs and outputs. You want to use the same consistent format for names, for job titles, for locations, for customer sites. That is the benefit that is really not harnessed a lot in automation, again, is that consistency aspect of it, not just for building the processes, but how the data ends up in your systems.
it gets back to religious standard following.
Yep.
We're zealots about it.
So how do you figure out what to automate? These are a lot of the data-driven decisions. Automation should start with a feeling. It's a good kind of, it's a good indicator for this could be a thing, but the best automation are the ones where you have the data to back it up. And you can say, I spend this much time on it every single month or every single week. We're going to expect to see a growth in this over time. So this is something that's really worth it. So things you can pull from PSA tickets. Hopefully your information, your PSA is concise enough that you can follow trends roughly across your information and your tickets.
If it's not consistent, then work on making it consistent. Getting your data to the point where you feel like where it is actually clean and is not a feeling is one of the best ways that you can start figuring out where you have these ticket concentrations, and then you can start automating around your ticket concentrations. It's a very finance type term for something, but at the end of the day, it's like it's the best place to farm for work or for automation is literally in where do you get the most work. So
yeah. Track frequency and time spent, but also error rates. How often does something fail? How many times do you have to go back and fix it? How long does that happen? If you run, say, a task 4 times in a month, so once a week, it takes 30 minutes. and you have to rework it once. That rework takes 15 minutes. You would say, okay, that's about 2 hours of work a month. Now it's 2 hours and 15 minutes because you are having consistent, at least once a month failures of something, whether or not it's within your control, but account that time into your calculations as well. Review your logs. Sometimes people just kind of hope things are running in the background, and then you open it up and you realize this has not been working for quite a while. Sometimes the logs are easier to read than others, but look at the outputs. Once you have something in, try to figure out, is this working? Is it passing? Is it partial passing? There's a lot of people we work with when we have ImmyBot consulting work where most of their automations or the maintenance tasks are running as partial pass because something in the chain didn't work. And that tells us either A, this doesn't need to be here anymore, or B, something needs to get fixed. And no one's looking at it because it's good enough when it goes out to the customer for the test.
It's green, but it didn't finish installing that one contingency that you needed to finish installing Sage.
Windows update. Windows updates.
I don't want to talk about it.
So documentation is your blueprint. This apparently didn't get the updated bullet points because Delta Airlines Wi-Fi sucks. So we're going to move on to the next slide. Tool selection, fit over flash. So don't chase trends, solve your problems. There are a lot of things, user onboards keep coming up because it's something that everyone has to do. Is it something that is a problem for you that you have automated to the point where not necessarily that you don't have to do it, but there is something higher value for your MSP that you could be doing right now that is a better choice for you? I've seen people build custom PowerShell automations for 40 hours and maybe another platform could have done it in 40 minutes. It's just because you're comfortable with it. So it's tempting to automate something flashy just to show off, and it's good to get there. But especially when you've just started with a new tool, you really want to focus on how fast can I make this pay for itself so I have the time afterwards to come back and start building out the other things with it. Consider your team skill level and your support. Are you building something that nobody else in your team can actually support and work on? I have a problem with this sometimes. I will see a very cool solution to something and I'll be like, I can do that. And then that becomes yet another.
Only Brandon can do it.
Brandon can do, only Brandon. BJ and Robbie, we have been working on getting past that now, especially since spending more time away from the MSP. But what are some examples of only Brandon's where it has really kind of wrecked our service delivery for a single instance?
Cloudflare comes to mind.
Cloudflare.
You beat me. I was going to go right to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and we finally have it going properly now, and we've done enough training that it's like everything's good. But the first couple of times we deployed it, oh man, it was tough, and it was bad when Brandon's out there working on something else, and nobody could fix the problem except for him. And so that's really where the documentation, the training, the like automating the setups so that way it's set up the exact same way every time. And you're back to the standards piece. Like so much of this is just doing things in a replicatable way, and
And Brandon's been doing a fantastic of dumping his troubleshooting into our Hoodoo documentation.
Absolutely.
So now we can go from those tools of him doing split tunneling, the common, I need to whitelist a URL and dropping those tickets down. So it's been great.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example because compared to Sophos IPsec VPNs, I think we can say people are familiar with Cloudflare Zero Trust that it is a more consistent and smooth thing when it works. When it doesn't work, then what? Are you bottlenecking your service delivery on one person just because the person who's building the automations, the tool, knows it better than someone else? On that note with tools, consider integrations, maintenance effort. Who is actually going to be maintaining these things? Even if it is something that multiple people know how to do, are they going to have the time to do it? I wanted to move to HubSpot before we went out to this conference. You wanted to start doing EOS or Stredic, and the answer to both of those questions from different people was basically, I am the person, not you, who's going to implement this, and I'm not going to have time for that. And it was a fair answer, and of course, I think we both kind of grumbled when we heard that on our ways, because we're just like, I think it's cool.
I actually said no to something, which that was a really big step in my journey forward. I know, I was very proud of myself. I get told no a lot, but for me to say no to somebody else was really like gratifying.
Yeah, and you need to do that sometimes. I mean, it is good to listen to your technicians and the people who are operational in business for automation ideas, but sometimes if you're the person who's making the decision, whether it's because you're the one building it or you're the one driving the team of builders who are, you need to be comfortable saying no sometimes. And it should always be a no but. No is kindly a full complete answer, but I don't think it has much belonging in a healthy management style. It's a lot of no, but we can add to the calendar. No, but I'm missing this information to make a choice on it. Why don't you come back and give me that information? There was someone on our team previously who didn't like a choice of tool set, and we wanted to find a way to give them the opportunity to make a case for it outside of, I don't like our current tool. And it turned into a, no, we can't onboard to this completely different RMM. But if you make me a list of the things that you are trying to do with our current solution that we can't do, but this other tool does, we'll look it over. And once we get that, we have to check, is this something that is actually worthy of implementing? Or is it something that we came across once or not at all, and it was just thought of to fill in this?
Are we trying to monitor for those very unique edge cases, or are we actually trying to solve a problem?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when we keep coming back to the what problem are we trying to solve, it's amazing how quiet it got. It's not that they didn't have good points, but it wasn't solving a problem that we had. It was cool, but cool doesn't pay the bills. Like at the end of the day, it's like we were solving the business problem of how do we become more consistent and efficient and drive like agreement efficiency and revenue forward. And it's like it turned into a fight like every week where it was like, we need this. And it's like, well, but do we?
It's a solution looking for a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not like I haven't done a fair amount of that myself over the years, but I do have a little more
Spider-Man
than
meme. We're just-
Yeah.
I want that t-shirt
Yeah.
right there.
a solution looking for a problem.
Yes.
Yeah, and we should do that next year.
I think we've gotten 2 t-shirt ideas out this talk so far. A solution looking for a problem, and then you said something like automation is for everyone. I want that on the back of a t-shirt next year. But start simple too. Don't overbuild on day one. Some automation is better than no automation.
Even if you do just part of a process, that means that part of the process can be forgotten about going forward. You still need to obviously have it and document it, but start doing chunks, even if you can't do everything.
One of the biggest blockers to delivery I see for people and for us internally as we're learning how to scale this is we have a process that has say 40 steps in it. It's not considered ready to use until all 40 of them are done, even when 20 of them are perfectly ready to go. You can still implement things. If you have a time saving out of running something, but it doesn't have some conditional handler that you're still trying to work out, you can still let the team try to use it. And if you run into errors, then of course roll it back. But if you have to go back and say, okay, until this is done for the next 3 to 4 weeks, there is another step where you have to start this other platform off for its automation, that's still saving you time and effort.
So are you doing those things and those initial exposures in sandboxes or test customers not real, and how are you introducing your team to those things? Because we've tried that in some cases, and it can be the moment it's customer facing and it's not that 100%, even if you communicate it, it turns a little chaotic for us. So,
We've been learning that too. It's still a process that we're figuring out, and it's one of the things where I don't know if we'll ever be perfect at that kind of communication. We do have a lab environment though on the eTop side and the ZenTop side. eTop has eTop.help. It has a 365 tenant. It has a customer connect wise. They exist in all of our stack. And
They have agreements, they have agreement efficiency, they have everything.
It's our FAFO lab. Something that I've heard at another conference, I'm blanking on who said it, but allow your team to fail safely. Most of the people in this industry love getting their hands on things, and they don't want to just read a process and then trust that it works until they've run it through themselves. So give them an opportunity to try to break it, and give it somewhere where they can safely break it, and it's not going to turn into a P1 emergency. It's just, okay, we'll just re-image the lab.
And then turn them into a cheerleader on your side.
Yeah, turn them into process cheerleader, because then they can say, I've seen this before. I mean, your techs talk to each other. As much as you kind of want to think that every time there's a question, it goes up and not sideways or down, it's going sideways because people have that kind of camaraderie in the same team they're on. So you're expecting all of your customers or your technicians potentially to come through and ask you, how do I do this? But you want to build people who are side by side, the people who are doing the work and having those questions, to say, oh, I worked on this yesterday and there's this really cool automation that we have available for it. Let me show you how to do it. Our client invitation for the new Street Connect portal, I think that was one where you kind of became a champion of that, Robbie, where we were having problems with it, and then you were like, oh, here's a link to the risk form to select the user and the device to assign to it.
Works swimmingly.
Yep.
I don't ever have to think about it, so it works perfect.
But yeah, to sum it up, long-term success is repeatable and maintainable workflows. We are at 2 p.m. on the dot.
What?
Woo!
So sexy.
Agenda experts.
Okay.
So we have 20, 30 minutes of demos, depending on how this goes. And then after that, we have a snack break.
Snack breaks.
After
We all
the
need
snack
snacks.
break, we'll be coming back for a quick panel with some beautiful people that we have in the room right now. And then we will be doing a Q&A. So if you had a question that's not already been answered, keep it. We're gonna answer it at the very end here.
Tool Talk Live.
We'll talk live.
Exactly.
So this is the part where I get to close out of this and figure out how to display settings properly.
Not that window. Oh, sorry.
What was the company where they had someone stealing data? I think it was NVIDIA. Someone was stealing data and they did a screen sharing, and it was like they had a folder on the desktop, like proprietary information, and it was on a call with both the company they stole the data from and the company they were trying to give it to.
Whoops.
Don't show this information to ABC.
Kelvin, I'm using demo to make a GDAP agreement. Is that going to work?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Which,
Okay.
which pen?
Yes.
Which pen?
That works.
So we're going to start off by prepping a environment for 365 that has just been onboarded, and then we're going to work all the way through
Dark mode.
dark mode. Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of light on the screen right now.
There we go.
Yay!
Let's go through and
My
do stuff
eyes!
really
We're gonna flashbang the crowd. We want to make sure you stay.
theme.
Otherwise, you don't see the screen at all.
Oh, you should share
Oh,
your
this is
screen.
Immy. I don't even dark mode. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So the question though is, if it's in dark mode, can everyone see the text on the screen?
Okay, no.
Small. Let me see if I can zoom in on it.
Turn off the light. Turn off the
Turn off the lights.
Turn off the lights. Turn off the lights.
Right over here.
It's getting all these potatoes.
So romantic.
Oh, man. I didn't bring candles, guys. So sorry.
Okay, how many texts does it take to turn off the lights?
This many. Two. Yeah, good job, guys.
All right, and then this window has.
More efficient.
And so that-
Sorry, my bad.
How do you, okay, how do you change 365 admin to dark mode? Can you do
I
that?
don't know.
You did it on mine. Without
Make a
that.
color.
Yeah, we're gonna go spend 40 hours figuring out how to turn off light mode.
So
We have time for shenanigans because we automated everything else.
Yeah,
I'd like an extension to dark mode everything, please.
I can install that for you.
Hey!
So we have a literally brand new template that has existed since this afternoon. We have one user on it with your name. This is for the company eTop Goat Farms. If you ever need any goat related merchandise, you can go to etopgoat.farm.
It is actually a sort of safe website.
And it's one of the days we went into the parking lot and screamed into the sky, and we realized it'd be easier to be goat farmers. So,
Or a
Exactly.
Taylor Swift fan, one of the two.
Exactly.
so we're going to start off by first off figuring out what needs to happen for our tenant. And the best way to do this is with Sid. There is a beautiful gentleman in the front row who has worked on this platform. Yes, you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Eat it up,
Mr. Wonderful Kelvin. over
Mr.
here.
Wonderful Kelvin. And we're going to use this to baseline the tenant and start getting stuff going for them. So let's start off with a set of standards for the customer. There is a very cool feature of SIP called standards right down here. So we're going to go into standards. We are going to add a template and then all become familiar with the concept of cold starting a function app while this loads. We will call this our GOAT template, both because it is for the GOAT company and because it is going to be the greatest of all time template.
Very nice.
We will go ahead and we don't have a tenant yet. We'll just apply it to them all when they load and standards. So some standards we want to have on here. We of course want to have the unified audit log. We'll turn that on. We'll go ahead and enable phishing protection via branding CSS. This one is one really cool one that I want to call out. Is everyone here familiar with adversary in the middle attacks, where your login is being proxied through an attacker server? Attacker server gets the token in flight, and then they have a valid MFA token. When that happens, you need to refer the request back to the attacker server. So this standard is going to insert a transparent branding on top of what's already in your CSS branding for the customer and figure out where am I being directed to at the logon page. Am I going to log into MicrosoftOnline.com or am I going to badguy.net? If it is not going to log in Microsoft Online, it's going to change the CSS on the page to a giant red box that says,
Don't
do not sign in. Your customers will see it and they will submit a ticket to you saying, what do I do?
After they signed it.
After they signed it.
Yeah, after they signed it, exactly.
After they signed in.
But it's okay, it says it in the password bank.
It
Do not
says in
enter
the
your
password
password.
bank, do not enter your password. And they'll get a ticket saying it looks a little bit different, can you fix that?
This is fishy. Okay.
But for the people who do know how to read, which working in IT, we have learned is an alarmingly small sample population, it works wonders. We'll also go ahead and turn on usernames instead of pseudo-anonymized names in reports. Sometimes on the reports you get out of the graph integration and in Entra, the usernames are random GUIDs. We want that information on. There are over 100 standards available right now. How many? 109, Kelvin?
Go to
120.
standard.
120 something. Ashley in the front row also made this super cool website called standards.zip.app. This is going to load in light mode. Sorry, hang on. Flash toggle.
God.
There we
Just make that default
Okay.
to dark mode.
127 standards.
127 standards, spanning from global tenant options, Entra ID, Exchange standards, Defender, Intune, SharePoint, Teams, device management, and template applications. So if I go through all 127 of these, this is all we're going to do for the rest of the pre-day, so I am not going to. I'm going to scroll through them. But if you have SIP, I recommend going through and looking at the standards available to them. If you don't, standards.sip.app is the website you can go to right now and kind of browse through some of the things you can set up. We'll have that
Intune is fantastic, by the way.
We're going to go ahead and break everyone's copiers by turning off SMTP based off. By the way, this is becoming mandatory, so please make sure that
SMTP to go for the win.
your copiers.
2 months.
2 months. 2 months. This is getting turned off on existing tenants. So make sure that you have another way to get emails from your copiers and line of business apps.
What's the alternative now?
Using a third-party sending service, so we use SMTP to go.
We're HV.
HPE is you got okay.
High volume emails.
Honestly, we've used SMTP to go because it's simple, it's
It
very
was
cost
available when a
effective.
million weren't available way back when.
Yeah.
Well, and it's just SMTP, so you have a legacy line of business app, which none of our customers have. They're always running the most up-to-date SaaS version of the box. As long as it takes SMTP credentials, you're good to go. So if there is a native solution, go for it. I know a lot of the HP devices are doing like scan to SharePoint or OneDrive now, which is awesome. But we've solved for it by moving all of the devices on the network to scan to email if that's not available, and then just apps like QuickBooks, Intuit, Sage. So they'll come out as
We have a couple of trucking platforms that use it. Yeah.
TruckMate.
Yeah.
Any trucking providers here? Anyone knows what TruckMate is?
Woo!
There's a few people. Nice. I'm sorry. We'll go down here. I don't really care about these at the moment, although these are multi-factor, so you should turn those on. Let's keep going here. We're going to start setting up some options for
Just turn on all.
Exchange. Let's not.
Is there like a turn them all on option?
Do not do this.
Do not do that.
No, but there is a turn BJ's access off.
Hey, well, yeah, that's already happened.
Your mic is a little bit quiet.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to hit the volume button,
No,
just the other direction. We're going to go ahead and turn on external warnings and Outlook. Believe it or not, this is the one that gets us the most tickets. We will change settings for people for login and multi-factor and conditional access. Without fail, we turn on the little external bubble in Outlook.
Yeah.
Everybody panics.
What do you mean Yahoo addresses aren't cool?
Earthlink, am I right?
Cool. Let's disable external calendar sharing. We don't want that either. The other ones I want are related to Defender for 365. So, ooh, this is a new one. A new shiny new button on there.
That's cool.
Pretty good.
SharePoint mass deletion alert. We'll turn that on. That's
Only works for E3.
only works for E3, so Kelvin.
Outlook.
We'll turn that back off.
I guess it does say it right in the tooltip.
You expect me to read? Let's go and turn on the Defender for 365 policies. So we have phishing, we have safe links, we have safe attachment. ATP for 365 is going to turn on Defender settings for SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams. Recommend hitting that. It's just an on-off toggle. You can create phishing simulation policies if you have a license that supports it, which is going to be Defender for 365 P2 or higher.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I keep looking at you for validation, Bill.
If he starts going like this, then we stop.
Malware filter, will turn that on. You can set a list of allowed domains for spoof intelligence. I don't recommend you do that, but if you really want to, you certainly can. And then spam filter policy. We've configured Defender. Let's keep going. Intune. We're not going to make any restrictions on here. We can if we want. Disallow downloading infected files from SharePoint. This is not a default on option in Microsoft tenants, believe it or not. You can click their safe links. Kelvin just had a very heavy sigh.
Don't accept the defaults.
Don't accept the defaults. If anyone has seen a presentation by Bo from Black Hills in BoSec, he does a fantastic Breaching 365 presentation that talks about all the ways that Microsoft comes out of the box incredibly insecure. Fun fact, if you have a tenant that is default with no other options set up for sharing, anyone can generate any number of anonymous sharing links that they want, and anyone who gets those anonymous links can be regenerated for an infinite number of additional anonymous sharing links. And once you become a guest in the tenant, you can go to entra.microsoft.com and enumerate every other object. It's fantastic filtering to exfil data.
Wow, that's fun.
So what we can do is we can change this to say set sharing level for SharePoint OneDrive.
Is that why I can't share documents?
That is exactly why. And then we're going to disable resharing by external users. There, we just fixed it. And the other ones here, we're going to go down and add Autopilot status pages and profiles, add some Intune templates, and then we'll add a conditional access template as well. Why not? Cool.
Hey, Brandon, why did those have a plus sign instead of an add button?
Excellent question, person I've never met before. The standards have a plus button when you are able to add multiple sets of templates to a standards document. So we will come back to that in just a moment. We need to configure these though. So we need to tell it what do we want to do. We want to remediate this. The report is going to say, add it to the best practice reports if it's not compliant. Alert's going to say, tell me specifically if this one's not compliant, and the remediate's going to say, if it's not compliant, then make it so. So we'll turn that on. We'll turn on the audit logs. Some of these don't have any other options. So like the phishing protection, the only one you have is remediate. But we're just going to fix all these as we go through. Disable calendar sharing. I don't remember who did the PR that added these sections to it, but it is beautiful. And I give them my eternal thanks.
I think that was John.
John, thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Everyone say thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
We love you, John.
Best.
Cool. And then some of these are also going to have some additional configuration options. So enable or disable external warning in Outlook. We'll turn that to on. And then you can have allowed senders. So if someone is really blowing up the service desk because grandma yahoo.net can't send them an email, then you can put them in here, I guess.
We all have that customer.
Cool. You're going to see these blow out here for Defender options because these are going to be almost all the same options you have in the Defender portal for configuring things. So we're going to leave everything default. We're going to tell it what to do if we have a message detected as spoof. We're going to quarantine it. And then once it gets quarantined, what access policy do we want to have on there? Notification. Do the same for the rest of these. Differences on here, if you're not familiar with Defender for 365, default full access with notifications is going to say the user is going to get an email saying that this is ready to be released. We've scanned it. It looks sketchy. Take action on it. Admin access is going to be, you can't actually see it at all. You have to request it gets released. And the default full access is you have to go into your quarantine portal. We're not going to send you an email now unless you configure it to do so on a regular cadence. Welcome, good on time. ATP policy, we'll go through, do that, turn that on. Malware filter, remediate.
You can go back together.
There we go. I'm going to speed through this a little bit longer, just make sure we get everything on there. Safe attachments, remediate. This is another one that trips people up. There's allowed block and dynamic delivery. Dynamic delivery, it says it will deliver the mail item before it's done scanning the attachment. You would think this is great, but when people are used to not getting the email at all until the attachment is scanned in other platforms, they will think that it's taking longer. And you can try to explain to them that the email's coming in sooner, you just weren't seeing it at all before. They will still want you to turn that off. So be careful doing this on. Safe links.
That's how we help pad our help desk numbers, is we turn on the.
Remediate, spam action, quarantine. High confidence. We're gonna actually tell this one to admin only access. Junk message folder is fine. Fish, we'll put in quarantine. And
So
then
this feels very tedious to begin with, but what's crazy about it is that it becomes a forever kind of like memorial of what you want to have happen. And so whenever you add a GDAP tenant, it just works.
Yep. So
Like it
we're gonna
applies
set
in
this
about
up
4 hours.
just once. Going forward, this is not going to.
This isn't something you have to do every single time you bring on a new client.
This is what you want the standard for everyone to be, and you can apply standards on top of other standards, which is pretty cool. Go ahead and call this our SIP Autopilot profile.
Fit.
The vent top.
Zip.
Zip top, yeah.
So we'll do English.
We should do Dutch.
Estonian.
So unique device name template for Autopilot. You can actually use wildcards in here. So if you want to put serial numbers, device name, you can do % serial %. Cool. We'll leave that all default here. If you ever have wondered how Autopilot Intune works under the hood, I have a session on a Thursday afternoon where we dive into the API calls down to the level. Tuesday afternoon, where we dive down to the level of API calls of what's happening when a device gets onboarded. So if you ever wonder what happens behind the scenes of the getting your device ready for rolling mobile device management, while on the same Delta flight that had crappy Wi-Fi, I figured out some extra undocumented settings that Microsoft sends. But we'll go set this remediate, that's fine. And then we'll get to the templates. So conditional access. SIP comes with a number of these already. So we're gonna go ahead and do remediate on this. Let's load up the templates here. We'll go ahead and hit remediate on that one as well. Give that a second to load the templates. Everyone stare at Kelvin while this is happening.
If you would have told me you'd use this environment, I would have made sure it is a
Always on.
normal version, not our dev version. Yes. That's fine? Okay.
There we go.
That's
As
stable.
soon as John said the words, that's fine, it's stable, it finished loading.
Smart.
So we're gonna go ahead and do SIP, enforce multi-factor authentication. Set to report only, because this is a stinky dev tenant that I don't actually want that to happen on. We're gonna go ahead and apply some Intune templates here. So we can go to SIP, default update ring. We'll start applying Windows updates. Apply to all devices. Done. All right, some of these show unconfigured because I didn't click enough options. We're gonna go back. Wow.
Ooh. Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you, John.
Did you put the button there, John?
That was awesome.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get rid of this one, so I don't have to go in there. And then sharing level, we're gonna go ahead and set the option for users can share with new and existing guests. Done. All right. We will leave this blank for now because we haven't onboarded our tenant left yet. That's okay, unless we can't save it.
You can save without a tenant.
Yeah.
Just apply it to 7 NGM.
Which one?
7 NGM. Yeah. that
This
one.
one. Cool. Save template. All right. Yes. All right. Who is familiar with making GDAP agreements here? Who loves making GDAP agreements?
You're lying.
Show us how fun it can be.
I'm gonna show you how fun it can be. So,
88 rolls, is that number?
Do not take away his microphone.
yeah, there's more now.
112,
If you apply all the rules, not only will it break your tenant, but Kelvin and I will begin sobbing uncontrollably wherever we are in the rules when that gets accepted. So we have a fancy role template here with SIP defaults, and it has a magical number of 12. These 12 are going to do everything, almost everything probably that you need to do as an MSP. We onboard all of our tenants with these 12 rules at our MSP, and we have yet to come across a scenario that wasn't caused by GDAP being broken. Some of the portals have not quite caught up yet. The security portal seems to be there all the way. The Intune portal's all the way. Mostly the security, Microsoft Defender Security API. I have some choice adjectives to describe how I feel about that API that are not appropriate to say to people.
Especially when it's being recorded.
Especially when it's being recorded and live streamed. But typically, all you need are these defaults. When you have a new instance of SIP and you go here, it'll ask you, do you want to make these? So we're going to proceed forward. We're going to add a tenant. We're going to select our template. We're going to make one invite. You can make up to 100. Everyone start going. There we go. Thank you, Dylan. Invite URL. This one is going to end up in, sorry.
Oh my
Are you all
God.
awake?
It's right there.
I didn't bring my sunglasses.
One is left.
Cool. Partner information is Cyberdrain holding DB. How do you say this, Colin?
Sorry, what?
Goede
Goede verwachting hof.
Yeah, that.
Garden of good expectations.
Fancy. We're gonna go next. Here are 12 rules. We're gonna go next.
So why would we only want 12 rules as the dumb sales guy?
Things tend to get a little bit wonky when you have duplicate permissions assigned. Microsoft also will not allow you to auto-renew relationships if you have global admin on your GDAP.
I like auto-renewing things. That's great.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and go back to SIP. We're done. Back to dark mode. Everyone take a deep breath. Gonna click the onboarding URL. It's gonna go ahead and figure out where that GDAP tenant went after going through all of these. Cool. We figured it out. Customer's eTop goat farm. It is active. It was created 1 minute ago. And then we click start. It's gonna do 5 steps here. First one is the invite accepted? If yes, we'll go on to the next one. It'll check to say, okay, we generated this invite with 12 roles. Are all 12 roles accepted? If yes, it's going to go ahead and map the groups to the roles. With GDAP, you cannot map users to roles directly. There has to be a group in the middle. Sometimes people will make a group called technician access, and they'll map that directly to the roles. SIP will make one group per role in your entry tenant, so you don't actually need to touch the partner center to assign stuff. If you want people to end up in the application administrator role, all you have to do is add them to the application administrator group. From there, because Android group memberships propagate down, you can create nested groups on there. So if you want to build a template for what roles people should have based on their job title, you can still do that, but entirely within Android, and you don't have to have partner center access for that. So it's going to map those groups over. Step 4 is going to be a CPV refresh. This is magic stuff in the background, and it turns out if we don't stagger when this happens, we DDoS Microsoft. Oopsie. Kelvin gets a nasty grant from someone at Microsoft saying, like, your project does not look like malware, but it sure is acting like it. Can you please contact us? But this is going to insert an app registration and consent to the permissions that we need in the customer tenant here. And that usually takes the longest. Last step here is running the Graph API test to make sure that we can actually list users.
This is going to take about 8 minutes because it's using the scheduler.
Oh, we move schedule. Okay, well, while that's happening, let's start setting up the endpoint.
Oh, no, it's done. Huh?
Oh, wow, look at that.
Fastest 8 minutes out.
Look on your face right now.
Cool. Give me one.
John's back there pressing buttons.
We have our
There's
demo
actually no
tent here.
automation, it's just John, that's why every time he says something, it starts working.
He's back there.
Oops, old John.
Yeah, call John, exactly.
Cool. So we're gonna start adding out some deployments for our endpoints now here too. We got 5 minutes left. We're gonna work towards this to get this done for you. If we don't have time before the break, we will come back to this at the end, and we can all watch the device prepare itself in the background of our panel. But what are things we want to install in here? I'm not actually going to install any apps because we tried this last year. They may predate, and conference Wi-Fi sucks. So I'm going to look up something called name device. Search for device. That's not it. Tara, what's this called?
You were asking the wrong person.
Name. Set computer name. Look at that. We're going to set up some parameters on this. So we're going to say it shouldn't be domain joined. We're going to go ahead and specify a tokenized computer name. So for our customer here, we're going to do tenant slug, GF for Go Farms. We're going to do our serial number. I believe it is spelled out yet. And then we'll do our form factor short. This is going to dynamically generate a device name for it in our naming convention of the customer name, and then the
You can also do that. One of the big things that's really helped us like streamline things is we push almost every single one of our ImmyBot deployments that we can at a global level. So you can set that same device name one to a global level by putting in The tenant slug? And so you basically will just, it'll automatically name the names. The only time we would need to do something like this is if we have the random domain join site left, that we would need to join it to the domain. So we would just make a deployment for that site.
Yep, so we're gonna go ahead and make this cross-tenant, all computers, workstation, portable devices, we'll hit the create button. And we are good to go. So next up, we're gonna go ahead and make our tenant. Normally what you would want to do is make the tenant from the Azure integration for ImmyBot. We don't have an Azure integration because this is our lab and we never finished up our CSP setup. Go us. So we're gonna make one by scratch here. It's the eTop goat farms.
We usually know what we're doing.
Sometimes.
Then there's, yeah, exactly.
Set our tenant select to GF for goat farms and then hit create. Cool. All right, we'll go ahead and see if this is done here. CPP refresh, that is still thinking. Let's finish up the last little step here. The only thing SIP cannot do is upload arbitrary scripts into tenants. I believe that is by choice, Kelvin, yes. MSPs cannot be trusted sometimes, so you can view your scripts, you just can't upload them. It is a dangerous thing to do, but what we want to happen is when we onboard a computer through Autopilot, first thing we want to do is install ImmyBot to install the rest of the software and set the options here. So we can go ahead and grab the agent. We're going to set this to eTop goat farms. We're going to go to the PowerShell option. We're going to enable automatic onboarding, reboot if necessary, generate install script. Copy that here, open up Notepad. Can I open up Notepad? And
I think so.
good enough for me. We'll see what comes up. Okay, thank God.
Went through and cleared that up the other day. Oh, shoot.
Everything gets the same thing. You're not special.txt.
That was the concept of the talk. Everyone gets the same thing.
Yeah. So we'll do GF Immy.
That's actually the whole standard thing. It's like all of our clients get the exact same thing, and we tell that nobody's special.
And we made it the most loving way possible.
Yeah, but you tailor it to the client. Like you brand everything for them, you make it look just perfect for them. But then tell them, hey, like the reason we do this is so that way we know exactly what we're doing for you. Like the less variables at every single client, the easier it is to figure out what's going on.
Ooh, that's fun. Where's your Zen-top tenant? There we go.
You're using my, I have no idea.
I figured it out, don't worry.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to hack you.
What? You don't know how to, I'll give you my MFA code.
Cool. So what we're going to do is add a new script deployment. We will go down to script remediations, go to platform scripts, hit add, Windows Center layer. So we're going to go ahead and say Immy installer. Add our script here. We're going to say we're going to run the system. We're not going to check for signatures. We're going to run it in 32 PowerShell. We're going to go to all devices, hit next, and add. Cool. We're done with Intune. SIP's going to do the rest. Is SIP done? SIP is done.
Yay!
Okay.
Under 8 minutes, I think. Yeah.
8 minutes ago. Look at that. 8 minutes on the
9
dot.
minutes ago, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So now we can go refresh our tenant selector. Go back to the dashboard here. We will pick out eTop goat farms and head into our standards. We're going to apply the standards, take a snack break to let them apply, come back, and then we will have this laptop that has been resetting itself under the podium here plugged into HDMI so we can watch it run through Autopilot setup while we're doing it. And pray to God the demo gods are looking favorably upon us today.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? We'll go to our goat template. We're going to go ahead and change the assignment target. We're going to change that to goat farms. We're going to save the template.
You know that means Kelvin has access to the goat farm now?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay.
And then we will go and run
Oh
template now. All tenants and template. Confirm. It is 2:30.
Go, Brandon. Yeah.
So,
The expert retains his crown.
30 minutes later, we have a, I have some warning in the 30 minutes later, we have a tenant that is fully configuring itself to our standards. We have ImmyBot configured for them. We have Intune configured for the joins. When we come back, we'll have a panel of experts up here with some questions led by the always wonderful Ashley Cooper in the front row, who is a real person, not a robot. And then watch it.
Is AI Ashley intelligence or?
But awesome, 15 minutes, go stretch your legs, get some water out in the hallway, come back.
We'll hang out here and chat.
We'll be hanging up out here if you want to chat.
Come back.
Oh, nice.
I'm worried that I left my
I rebranded myself. Yeah. I rebranded myself. I'm so good. I'm such a funny man. I rebranded myself.
You're branding yourself. Love it.
Yeah. I fucking branded.
No. Okay. It's been like that for a long time.
Did you remember?
Also, you should have turned off recording because then you're going to verify your
Always little details.
Actually, no, depending on when you did it, it won't run still, or, you know, so.
Just surface issues.
Yeah, so if you go back and see for me,
We'll get to it here soon. It's just. It's one of those things. It's possible.
they have to do the initial onboarding for country otherwise.
Do we want to just send the link
I'm really nervous. I just don't have without it.
You want to go check deals?
I just did. I'm gonna have a room to check the room. It's like I don't have
Yeah. Very well maintained demo.
I don't usually hear much for sure. That is a lot. Straight up down. So it is maybe broken, maybe not. So it's definitely got some time. I don't always have story stuff. Actually, I think they do one support anyway. Always.
I heard you left. I had to go in there. Like, but also you should pull pieces.
Actually, I don't pay too much attention to this.
Yeah.
Which session Tuesday is that about?
It is the last one of the day. It is decoding Autopilot.
Encoding Autopilot. And that was. I'm trying to see if I've got overlap. Do you know what time that is?
It's the last session of the day.
So like the third session.
Give me one sec. Put up the break time banner and then I can take it off.
Hey, how's it going? Yes.
Okay. You got that? 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock. Thank you.
Grand ballroom A.
It's right there. I was thinking like that.
Sometimes she
They are now. At least that's my.
I was sitting back there and I could do it. Oh, basically.
As long as your data is
It's not. Stage in person?
Yeah.
You got a Hispanic last name.
Yes, it does make sense.
So I have one too, so my dad was like, I knew someone that.
You could go back and don't know where things were. Yes.
Yeah, that's where mine were. I saw your name online before I ever saw your face. I was like,
They get the same look at TSA.
yeah, my wife's
Yeah, you can put in.
I try to know where.
So it's making. Yeah, so SIP doesn't SIP sets up most of the tenant running scripts and applications through Intune. It's Intune, so it's going to run on any.
No, they're talking off. All the off. I'm like, you would have talked to me for Darren.
We are working on
I actually thought I was going to on the ground when I got here. Right on the ground.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it. Like, I'm just going well.
Where do you want, Brandon, where do you envision me being? Not behind you, right?
Yeah, no,
Do you want to stand, can you stand at the end there where he is? Right there, yeah. I think that if we.
I like it, but I was asking this is what I have now. I say as I also draw.
Yeah. I know.
You can angle them in.
I'll eventually
And we have access to the phone too.
Oh, that's funny. So you are a developer. So that's it.
You'll have to. This we got a couple because we took out all of
Okay, and then I can stand.
No longer become a problem because they can't do it.
All right, I can stand.
I let you know.
Yeah, great presentation, dude. I love it, dude.
Thank you. In case we lose track of each other.
Yeah,
Keep that.
I will. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's a person.
Well, we told them all to like the logo.
I wonder if
We did 88. Yeah.
I was listening to the live stream as I rebranded it. All right. So I set up I brought the laptop that they're printing these on. Yeah. And I have a Windows 3.1 desktop background. Excuse me, that's my phone. Oh, you touched my phone.
I did, yeah. There wasn't a solution.
I faced the same issue. 5 seconds, and I turned them into sticks. Unsafe.
I know, I'll just see a link.
Testing the battery. Yes, this one's the most comfortable.
No, I heard you trying to say it. Because it's where I work.
I was like,
We do, it's very, very. All right.
I heard you.
Oh, smart. Those are rookie numbers.
So that's what I heard last week.
Of course.
Be careful, I find everybody. Never give that up.
The entirety. I'm including this.
Hey, Brenda, check if everyone's still having fun.
Is everyone still having fun?
I mean, woo! Come on! Oh, careful. You almost died.
Does anyone have any?
I have this week on choice.
I have one.
Do I need to bring up notes? I think I wrote down like one word. I know, right? Everyone's gonna think I'm sick.
All right.
Where do you want to?
On the chairs. Yeah.
I feel very unstalling right now.
You can spread it out.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep it on the projector.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna go sit down because.
Maybe Kelvin's lap.
Are you gonna?
I can do whatever you need me to do.
You're like, here's Tim.
Oh, so is it okay?
Yeah, but I figured there's not really.
Oh yeah, please. They're all sitting up. I know, right? Exactly. We can have. Hey, anyone bring squishies? Or nice.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
We shall see. If we're not, I mean, tacos come in pretty. It's crazy. Oh, are you kidding me?
Told you I had it. Wait, where's your mallet? You had a mallet too.
I brought it for him to surprise him, but I forgot I lost it.
Come here, Calvin.
I already told you. Oh, that's it. Make for I totally remember, yes. We're gonna bucket and bucket.
We need something harder.
All right.
Like my eyebrows. It's from his mouth.
Sorry.
Is that supposed to come out?
What is that?
Oh, it's a good thing that it's a good thing I had the demo. Change it if you maybe. Still think they're flying.
Yeah.
Removing.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here you go.
All right.
So you got 2 minutes.
All right. Hour and 9 minutes.
Am I okay?
Yeah.
You'll be all right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
No.
Spin, Kelvin. Spin. Spinning me. You would have known.
Oh, it happened. I just wasn't sure which one it was.
Is he drunk or drunk or safe? Not drunk.
Here's the Kelvinism.
I wanted to try the session sober. Spinning is also exact same effect.
Exact same effect. I was wondering about that. All right.
All right, before we get kicked back off, I really quick want to show everyone that we have fully added the standards here through SIP. They have run Autopilot and OpenStack stage is good. We've added default updating policies. So these are all good to go. Kelvin, could you shut this shutter on the projector really quick?
A little slide.
Oh, wait, no, actually don't do that yet. I forgot something.
Oh.
So we have our guest panel here. Our guests today, I'll introduce you all. We have Tim from Rewst. It's right here.
Woo! Thank you, Tim.
Woo! 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 We have Jared from ImmyBot.
Hi.
Hey, we love you.
Come on, a bit more enthusiasm, guys.
Woo!
For the last person here, Kelvin, I think we should do the exercise you normally let people.
Oh, okay. Let's do a stretch before we get started.
All right.
Everyone, stand up.
What are we doing?
Come on, all of you stand
We
up.
just sat down, man.
We're gonna do a little stretch, okay? Put this hand forward. Put this hand forward. Way to go, guys.
Does the stream still say break?
No, he.
Okay, cool.
They gave me permission to press buttons.
And we have the
That
wonderful
wasn't a good idea.
Ashley Cooper being our moderator. So, for Fireside Fire.
Did you try it?
Oh, no.
I believe it is on this
Be
tab.
careful what you click on. No.
Yeah, that's my job.
Yes.
I wore the right shirt for the occasion.
Nice. I'm a dumpster firefighter. That's awesome.
All right.
All right.
So panelists know this mic, I've been informed you have to get it way up close to it. So,
Oh.
is anyone feeling sick today? No, I don't count.
Anyone
Good.
else feeling sick?
Would anyone like to feel sick today?
So Brandon asked me if I wanted to participate on his panel, and I said, actually, why don't you sit on your panel and let me facilitate it? Because I think that this is a really, it's an interesting type of conversation that doesn't get to happen a lot, where you're talking, you know, we just heard from the business leader, we just heard from the champion and the advocate and the builder, and now we are talking to those companies as well. And so we're going to kind of have that full circle conversation about how we figure all this stuff out together. But kicks things off, let's start with the first question here, which you can also introduce yourself on. What is the mission for each of your companies and where did it come from? Brandon, you basically just did a big introduction of your company, so do you want to pass that on to us?
Sure. Do you want to introduce myself first?
Sure. Yeah.
So, Tim Fournette, I know a lot of you guys as former, well, I was a former MSP person. I did MSP for about 16 years before I came to Rewst because I spent my entire career trying to automate myself out of a job, and it never quite worked. So I'm over here so I can just continue automating and helping other people with the same goal. So really, our business is built to provide automation to the MSP space. So if you look at enterprise, they've got tools, they call them RPAs, that can automate business process for a single entity. MSP software obviously works different, as you guys know. And so we built Rewst to provide that ability for MSPs to do this for themselves and their customers. And probably most importantly, as a space for MSPs to come together and work on these problems together. So we're big on community. We have, our Discord, we have our open mics, and just events like these where we love to compare notes with you guys.
Hi friends, can you hear me? Okay, so I'm Tara with ImmyBot. A lot of you might not actually know me. I am not technical, so I think I'm the only one up here who is not technical. So
But she's still awesome.
No, but if we have technical questions, I'm going to default to Brandon or Drew in the back. Hi, Drew. So I have been with Brett and Darren, the two owners of ImmyBot, for 13 years. They started an MSP 20 years ago, and they didn't want to run a business. So they hired me, and I ended up running their business while they built our software. So I literally was on like that side of the table, God, 3 years ago, if that. So I came on as an admin assistant and ended up becoming CEO of the company by the time I took a step back, and I moved over to ImmyBot. And now I get to come talk at events and hang out with you guys and buy drinks professionally for people, which is really fun, and design all our cool merch. So that's what we do. And then from there, we are looking to lower the barrier of entry to automation. And why we're looking to do that is because we had lab tech when it was lab tech, and it was a great product. It's the same thing it was 12 years ago. So that was our problem, is we were tired of maintaining the same scripts over and over and just trading scripts with people. So we took it just upon ourselves to build a giant repository. So that's really what we're trying to do here. Make it easier for you guys because we already were in the trenches on this.
Now, before you pass that over, Tara, I want to say one thing. Yes. How many people in this room know somebody who is extremely process savvy, but calls themselves not technical? I'm sure that there's more than that, but yes. Process savvy is the new technical. All three of these tools working together proves that. You can be technical, you can break things just as much.
But I don't want to fix your computer, so I always say I'm not technical. I'm gonna be honest.
Hi, go.
By your face.
How close does this have to
Like
be?
that, basically.
Wow, you have to kiss it.
Hi, I'm Kelvin, and that's my introduction. I'm probably the most charming man you know. I'm also the guy that happened to have invested SIP completely by accident. I was just sick and tired of current vendors that weren't looking at cloud management products the way I wanted them to be. So I decided in a couple of weekends to build a product that now has 8,000 MSPs using the product, managing 2.5 million tenants. Insane numbers, really. And yeah, I'm here to talk about automation, I guess.
Something like that.
Okay, sure, cool.
Okay. So we're gonna come back down the line this way now for this question. I'm gonna ask you three this question, and then we're gonna have Brandon culminate in an answer kind of across all three. So what goes into a smooth implementation with your platforms? And then Brandon, what goes into smoothly implementing multiple platforms together?
I think the number one thing is doing something that pretty much everyone here hates doing. It's reading the documentation. I mean, most products are very self-explanatory, and they allow you to jump into things without really having any knowledge about the product itself. SIP is one of those products where we want to make sure you do things the right way. So that means you have to do a bit of investment into reading documentation, getting up to date, or talking to your community members. One of the biggest multipliers that we have, force multipliers that we have, is our community. We have, like I said, 8,000 MSPs in there. Those are 8,000 MSPs you can ask questions to on how they approach these things. So I think that's my answer. It's read documentation and get involved in the community, because everything that you're trying to do, someone else has already done before you.
So for us, I think it's really getting on an onboarding call with us. We have a lot of people that like to skip it, and honestly, we use probably some interesting terms that maybe aren't that common within the space, and so you have to really learn how to think with ImmyBot, and I think that's probably the best. And the community. Yeah, our community isn't nearly as big as yours. We're on the MSP community. We have almost 1,000 members in there though. So for being such a tiny, company, and we're still growing, we do not have 8,000 MSPs using us, 910 still growing. But they know so much, and some of the people in that community are using ImmyBot in such interesting ways. Like I had somebody come up to me last week at an event and just tell me a way I even never thought about using Immy. So they're there to help you and support you, and people like Brandon are very active on it.
Yep, what they said obviously applies to us as well. And I think also to add to it is you really get a goal. We have a lot of partners come in that are kind of sold on what we can do, which lots of things, but they never settled in on, hey, let's go pick one thing that's actually going to save us time, and we're going to run through this process and get it automated. It's very easy to, get stuck in this analysis paralysis. They come up with one idea, then ADHD kicks in, and it moves on to another idea and another idea and another idea. Pick something and see it through completion, and then go to something else. And then, so once you start to accumulate that time savings, you realize that you have more time now to automate more things.
Hey, Tim, how many MSPs succeed without asking questions?
Let's see. Wait, I have the figures. Do you have them up on your computer?
Yeah, just over here.
I see a bunch of numbers. Zero. So yeah, be in the community, ask questions of your peers. As Tara said, or what do you say? I think, anything that you want to do, someone else has probably done before. But then to add to that, if they haven't, then somebody else is going to want to do that after. So you might be the first, but you're not going to be the last.
And some of these people have never implemented any of these three tools, and they're like, how do I start? Where do I go for it? What was smooth implementation of all three of these tools together? No pressure.
What they said. Next question. It is a combination of all that. First off, before you start implementing any tool, regardless if it's automation or not, figure out what you want out of it first. Automation is not an answer to that question. Pick a list of things that are like your key targets for, I want to get ROI on this platform, I want to be able to do this. For SIP, maybe it's I want to be able to onboard all tenants with GDAP agreements, and that's your barrier to clear to say I'm getting value out of this platform. For MSP, it's I want to be able for this one large customer of mine to onboard all their devices, and that's the first building block for I'm getting value here. For Rewst, it's I want to unpack crates. The Rewst marketplace has some great crates for user onboard, user offboard, a lot of the really common things you wanted to use. So you don't have to necessarily even start building it first. But a lot of people go into these tools and they don't necessarily have a target for what good should look like. And because of that, they never actually hit a point of feeling like they're getting value out of the tools because they never knew going into it what that even looked like.
And to add to what you just said, for anyone who's unaware, a crate is a pre-built automation within Rewst. And the example that BJ gave at the beginning, where he was talking about synchronizing the contacts between Azure and ConnectWise, that's a pre-built automation that he's implemented, right? Yeah.
It's one of the oldest ones. Yeah.
Should you do all of them at one time?
No.
If you have an integrator, which I kind of know someone who does that, it's possible, but it's very unlikely to be successful. It is much easier to figure out what is most valuable to you first and go step by step. Does that mean you have to be 100% proficient in every single platform before you go into the next one? No. Does it mean you should hit your goal in one before moving on to the next? That might be a good idea. It's really easy, at least for me, with the IT technician ADHD to go, ooh, shiny, and then move on to the next thing and then leave everything like maybe 10% completed, or honestly, more often than not, 90% of the way before I see something else that I want to work on, and then it's just never across the finish line. So it's possible if you have a big enough team, enough resources, and enough pre-thinking to say, you are going to focus on implementing Rewst, you're going to focus on implementing ImmyBot, you're going to focus on implementing SIP. We're all going to run these asynchronously with our own individual teams. That could work. If you are an owner-operator or a small team who is not able to delegate like that, figure out what's going to work one by one for you.
So this question is a little bit similar, I think, now that I'm reading it over again in my head of, like, obviously it would be going into the answer you just gave. So I'm going to reposition it, but you can also take it your own direction. The question is, what is one thing you wish MSPs understood about building scalability into what they're doing? Obviously, you probably wish they would understand the things that help you adopt your product better, that you just said. But actually, Brandon, maybe you can say something that you wish you understood before when you were getting started. And then maybe you guys can touch on like, what are those things that like help them scale as they continue rather than just the getting started.
Best automations build on other automations. Big mistake that I had when I started, and one of the reasons why he's just nodding his head. We almost weren't successful for Rewst when we started at eTop before ZenTop even existed, is I wanted to boil the ocean. I wanted to have all of these cool processes that I had already spent a year plus for my Hyper-V script. I'm like, I want to make that work in Rewst. And then I got frustrated because I couldn't just, as a brand new user, within 3 weeks, do something that I had made over a course of a few months in a language I was proficient at already. So figure out what, number one, is going to be a bite-sized enough chunk that's going to be able to be accomplished. Number two, brings value. But number three, can be brought back around in the context of other processes and automations. If you have a common task to reset MFA for a user, you can make that just on its own, and that's valuable enough. But then what else can I go into? What if you have an email compromise? And part of that process is to reset MFA, so we don't have any rogue methods on there. You don't have to rebuild it. You've already built that. Those are the kind of small automations you want to try getting wins on early on, and it's going to make your process that much easier down the road to scale them.
Well, yeah, you said it. And don't try to automate, or don't be dissatisfied if you can't automate 100% of the process. As you said before, if you can automate 70% of something or even 20% of something, that's time that you're putting away to be able to automate the rest of it later.
Yeah.
So I would say make sure the juice is worth the squeeze. One time, Darren, the guy who started ImmyBot, came to me and he was so excited because he automated something I did. And I was like, cool, how long did that take you? And he's like, about a week. And I said, great, it takes 30 seconds every 6 months for me to do that thing. It wasn't really worth it, but I had to celebrate him anyway because he helped me. It's Darren.
Good job.
But on top of that, just from like an MSP standpoint, you can't there's no silver bullet. You can't buy your way or hire your way to scalability. You have to have processes. Automations, for better or worse, can break. You have to make sure you have things set up in a good foundation, or everything can crumble down really quickly.
Yeah, so everything they said. Next question. If there's one thing that we all are guilty of in this room, it's letting our clients dictate what their needs are in regards to automation. Stop doing that. Stop giving them exclusions or separate special treatment. One of the examples is, oh, the CEO doesn't want to use multi-factor authentication because it takes too much time. Stop fucking doing that. You're all applying, but you're all doing it too. No, it's one of the biggest things that helped my MSP, and we grew from 20 employees to 84 now in the last 10 years-ish. We've had immense growth thanks to our automation team, but also because we started pre-selecting our clients. We said, if you don't want to start using our automations in the way that we dictate, if you don't want to use your IT in the way that we dictate, which is the optimal way for your organization, we're not special. Most SMB has the exact same needs as every other company. Yes. So stop letting them dictate what you should automate and what your standards are. That's my answer.
DJ, what was the name of that text document I found earlier?
Everyone's treat everyone the same, or
everyone gets the same thing.
Nobody's
not
special. Yeah, everyone gets the same thing. Nobody's special, exactly.
All right, so we have 2 more questions on this section, but I'm actually going to split them up. So this question I'm going to ask between the 3 of you, if one of you has like a burning answer that you want to give, please give it. So we heard BJ talk about how he gets so excited about a tool and he sees its potential and he's like, he walks into the vendor showroom with a credit card and he leaves with all the products, and it's like ascribing to that, like, old, how do you become an MSP? Go buy all the things. Yeah.
Every single tool ever.
And then we heard Brandon say, okay, this is great, but I have to implement these things, or I actually use this, or somebody else is saying, I prefer these. So the question is, buyers buy, champions build and adopt. How do you help the Brandons of the world translate the business needs of the BJs when they're bringing in these new tools once it's live in the real world to actually get that application functionality that excited the leader so much?
Oh, that is a difficult question. The biggest problem is that, okay, how many of you are nerds? I love audience participation because all of you raise your hands. The biggest thing is that we all suffer as nerds from shiny object syndrome. Every tool is very cool. Every tool needs to be implemented. And as MSP technicians, we also have the power of convincing our business leader to do stuff that might not always be a net positive to the business just because we find a tool so that cool. Mm-hmm. So like I said, it's a difficult question because finding the balance between the actual business needs and implementing a tool it's a difficult equation. Actually, my partner at our MSP, he has built an entire Excel sheet calculating the actual cost of a tool. And that isn't just, oh, we're going to pay for this tool. I think I showed this to you before.
I haven't seen that one. I'd love to see that.
It's not just, oh, this is the implementation cost, this is the onboarding cost. It's, we have to re-educate 80 people. We have to make sure that our documentation points there. Our compliance needs to be updated. We need to make sure that we have everything from that vendor regarding compliance, if they are SOC certified, or if they have their ISO 27001, or all of this kind of stuff. How much time goes into that each year? How much time goes into the renewal process? How much time goes into contract discussions? Then eventually you end up with a number that's about 10 times the actual cost of the product.
That was good timing. It just got you. That was amazing.
Fire.
That is good timing. So yeah, the actual business cost of implementing a tool is so much more than just the technical cost of buying it.
Yep.
So that's my somewhat long-winded answer. Sorry.
No, that's good.
So from our perspective, when people come to our booth and they're like, hey, we think this is going to be great, I always tell them to do a demo call with us and bring on a technical person or their technical staff, because we need to figure out on our end what their problems actually are. Because a lot of times, some CEOs and some owners are a little too removed, and sometimes people aren't right for ImmyBot. Maybe they're not right in their journey, right, as an MSP, but will still be here when they are. Or maybe they're scared of it, or maybe they're like, my RMM can do it all. You know, we've all heard all the things, right? And from a CEO or owner standpoint, I'm going to say, BJ, take a step back from picking your stack. You shouldn't be picking your stack if you're not the one running your stack.
Yep, I mean, just to kind of repeat the beat the dead horse a little bit more is alignment between your technicians and your business operators, right? How many of you who are nerds know how you do billing?
Do I count?
It's like a 5. For those that know, or your people who are doing billing, are they efficient at it? Do they?
Actually,
can you help them? Is there something that you can do to show your value not only with the IT processes you automate, but in some of the back-end automations that you can do?
Cool.
I wasn't asked this question, but I have a brief answer for it.
Sure.
BJ and I have a session. We need to have them more often. We haven't as much lately, but it's okay, so hear me out. Where for about 30 minutes, we disappear into his office and we just bounce off all of the ideas we've been having on our heads for the past 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so hear me out. What if we did this? And we have to be comfortable enough to say that, regardless of how fleshed out it is, and also comfortable enough to say back and receive, no, that's stupid. What the hell are you thinking?
So kind of like to the flip side for you, PJ was showing that trajectory. Here's my expected journey, and here's what it actually looked like. And it was big loops, and sometimes you're going backwards for a little while before coming back up. And I imagine complexity of like multiple different tools being involved kind of contributes to that. So like, how do you spot when you might be in one of those spirals, where you might be able to like kick yourself out of it? And maybe is there ways that your vendors could help you when you're feeling that way?
The biggest signal for a process spiral or a tool spiral is the human. People get passionate about the things that they enjoy doing. And when those things are not working in the way that they feel or should be working, then it becomes apparent. Part of it is something that you need to be in tune with if you are a manager or an owner or a partner with your staff to pick up on that. Because not everyone's going to be comfortable coming to you and saying, I have a problem with this, or I'm stuck on here. A lot of times they see this personal challenge to finish the task they've been given. And it's not because they don't trust you, or it's because of the kind of person they are. It's just they want to finish it. But it's something that maybe they need help with, and they don't even know that they need to ask for it. So if you have someone on your team who is typically acting one way and they start taking kind of a personality shift, maybe it's something in their personal life that doesn't really concern you, but it's okay to sit people down and be like, hey, how are things going? I'm just going to leave it there. Is there anything that I can do to make your job easier? Is a sentence that I heard a lot from BJ, and now that I am having people working with me, I am having to repeat back. Sometimes the answer is tech related, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's I'm having a really hard time with this, and you kind of put your managerial therapy hat on and listen to it a little bit, but that is the easiest way. Or your rubber duck. But that's the easiest way to kind of figure out, is this a people problem? Is it a process problem? Or is it a tool problem? Is just being able to ask that question to people.
Nice. We're a little bit short on our pre-planned time, so I'm actually gonna, I'm gonna rapid fire 3 of these questions at you guys, and if you want to answer the previous question you got as well, feel free. But to Tim, I'm just gonna go, where should MSPs go when they're stuck?
Simple answer, the community, right? So again, you're probably not the first one to have this problem. And even if you are, having someone to talk to about it that's in the same position as you is key, right? So go to the community, ask the questions, get ideas. You may get answers that you didn't expect, but it'll get you somewhere.
Tara, What is a trend that has you excited right now for MSPs?
Oh, yeah, this is one I didn't want.
Do you want to talk about what's overrated?
Because the easy answer is AI, right? Because it was also my answer for the
Actually,
next
don't.
question you had too. I'm going to answer Tim's real quick though
Okay, do
too.
it.
So I would say go to the community, but please God, don't write on Reddit and just get angry. Because I'm seeing it more and more. Instead of people emailing support, and not even on our ImmyBot one, just on others, and I feel really bad seeing them. Talk to their support people. Like everybody has support and they're there to help you. Like this is your system of people along with community, right? So make sure you're utilizing that.
I want to cancel my service. What do you think I should do?
You saw that the other day, huh?
I had a really long reply.
I saw it.
What is overrated right now?
AI.
Yep. That was my answer for
You may now applaud.
Now tell me why AI isn't overrated. Isn't.
Okay, this is a difficult one. It is, in the sense that the current adoption rate for actual large language models and agentic AI in our industry is still at an all-time low. You see a lot of businesses starting to create AI tools, and there's a lot of what my best friend and I tend to call featured as a product. It is a single tiny little thing that they solve using AI, which they pretend is an entire product. That's not the way you should be using these kind of tools. The way that you can utilize large language models is in your ticketing system, or is in something that requires a lot of, how do I say this correctly?
Cognitive assistance.
Cognitive assistance, thank you. I didn't want to call you guys idiots.
I have alternate words running around in my head.
No, but seriously, MSPs are idiots, and because of that, the long-term vision of AI is going to be fantastic to remove that layer of communication. We as nerds are fairly poor at communication. It's just the truth. It's a stereotype for a reason, and AI is going to assist in that, but not if we keep glorifying features as products.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to add something. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
We need to shift the way that we are thinking about AI, because as you're seeing, it's being perceived as overrated in the big glorified world. We need to start thinking about it as tools to help us do the individual things that we need to be doing. We're still the human on the other side, engaging in those things, providing a consistent output at the end of the day that isn't going to hallucinate. Okay.
Thank you.
I guess we have 2 questions left, and we can go through them because one of them is on community and the other one is the one that you really wanted to get to. So the first one is, what roles does the community have in building better automations? You can take that however you want.
Could you repeat the question? I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, if anyone has it, you can start. Whoever has an answer can start. But like, what role does the community have in building better automations?
Stop using. Okay, no, I wanted to make a very lame PowerShell joke that I keep making. But the community does have a role in encouraging good automation. One of the examples is there are a lot of very poorly written PowerShell scripts out there that make use of something called Win32 product. Now, I can talk to you guys about that because you're nerds. If you use this, it means it runs an uninstall or a repair install on all the software in your system. If you use it in a script, it's a really bad idea. But there's a lot of examples out there that still use it. So someone copies that example, doesn't know what it does, then sends it to another person on MSPGeek, for example. And then that person on MSPGeek thinks, oh, you know what? I can help someone else with this, and sends it to another colleague. And 2 weeks later, you hear, oh, hey, our entire SQL cluster went down because someone ran the script on it. It's our job to make sure that the automations that we share with people and the things that we put out to people work in the way that they would expect it to work. And if you do see later on that this is incorrect, this could cause issues, we need to revisit what we've sent to these people and say like, oh, wait, I just found out this is an issue. Please don't use it anymore.
Well, I can only talk in relation to ImmyBot, but improving automations with the community is huge for us, right? It's shocking to see what MSPs can do. I remember Brandon one time was talking to me about something he was doing, and I literally looked at him and went, how are you doing that? He's like, Rewst and Immy. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Just things that we don't maybe think about, maybe not the reasons we actually built the product. Other people are using it in such unique ways, like ping the community and talk to them and see what they're doing. And with our community calls, like we're bringing on power users to show some of the cool things they're doing that maybe you don't even know is possible.
Yeah, same.
Same, next question.
I'd say that, maybe, again, be careful. Not everybody operates the same way. So look to the community for inspiration, steal some ideas where that makes sense, but don't expect something that somebody created for their environment to work 100% for you. Be prepared to tweak it and add your own tools and your own processes to it.
Encouragement is the best thing that you can do for the community as a whole. I talk to a lot of people who will say, I love the content that you and other people are putting out, and I have this really cool thing, can I show it to you? And I love seeing it, but it's so much cooler when people are empowered to share their work with the wider community instead of on a small scale. Don't feel pressure to do it, but this industry is unique in the fact that we have so much community, and I think it's because MSPs by nature, for most of us, we are a fairly regional kind of service. So we don't necessarily have a lot of worries or concerns about competition when we're talking in chat rooms online and stuff. And it's good to have peer groups in your local area, but we're able to speak freely on a number of things. But it's as hard as it is to get someone to share something for the first time, it is 20 times easier to get them to never share something again. We were kind of talking about that last night over dinner too. So the community is a very valuable resource for all the reasons that everyone here up here has said. But it's really important when you're working with people, if you don't necessarily agree with them or they're giving bad information, consider how you're correcting it and do it in a positive way. Do it in a way instead of like, that's dumb, you can't do that. I don't think that's how that works. So that's not how this works. Let me show you the alternate way. This is a little bit better. Here's why. Here is the follow-up to that question.
So, all right. So the last scripted question is, what is your hot take?
Pineapple belongs on pizza, and I will take no further questions.
But he will.
Back to you. All right, brunch is bullshit. The food is terrible, and it's only a socially acceptable way to drink in the morning. That's the only reason it's good at all.
My hot take is their hot takes are wrong. Very wrong.
I agree with Brandon. I don't agree with Tim. That's why it's a hot
No. Back. Does someone have a newspaper? That was my hot take.
Oh, well, get back to Tim.
I'll go with, since we're in the drinking thing, fruit does not belong in beer. Order Modelo, do not put wine in it.
So no rattlers for Tim at the bar for buying him a drink.
Rattler.
You mix grapefruit juice and beer together.
Oh, today I learned.
That sounds like
Do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes.
Oh,
Before we take questions from the audience, I want to set up the thing that we worked on. That should be good to go. So while we're taking questions, we're going to watch this provision, and we're going to pray that it provisions.
Whee!
Under the podium here, I have a secret laptop that has been sitting here.
It's like the other laptop, but different. Exactly. Yeah.
Did you make the sacrifice to the demo gods? I asked him not to.
I appreciate that. What are your thoughts on wine and milk strips?
Huh?
Yeah, 40 minutes.
All right, so this really just shut off. Oh, so fun fact, if your laptop's using a magnetic sensor for the lid, stacking the laptop so that you think the lid is closed Everyone who has laughed has probably spent an ungodly amount of time troubleshooting why there's no display on a laptop until they pick it up off the stack of other laptops and it turns itself back on.
Or somebody with those like stress bracelets, and every time they go to use their computer, it turns off the screen.
Okay. So this is a fully fresh copy of Windows that reset itself under the building here. It is ready to go. No scripts. We're going to scroll down because it's putting itself on Canada automatically for some reason.
Canada, eh?
Put it on.
I tried
Nope, you're going to Canada.
It's IATA standard when you were looking only Canada.
It's a boot time for this, man.
Okay, we'll hit yes. The reason it's asking for this, and I made sure to set it again, is because it doesn't have internet to grab its autopilot profile.
Boo.
Let's get this.
You didn't connect it to the Wi-Fi?
Well, we are now.
What's the password?
Is that with the capital or lowercase?
Can I print yet?
Solar
Oh, that would be really fun.
Okay, so it's gonna run its 0-day update check.
Is it done yet?
Paper updates. Why does it take you so long?
Brandon, I need to get back from my job. Come on.
Brandon, I have a very important meeting. Why is my laptop not working?
For the first time in 4 months.
Brandon, I'm missing a multi-million-dollar deal because your IT sucks. I'm supposed to be ordering 25 Apple gift cards right now.
Okay.
What
While
happened to your
spinning, I'll
local
turn it
brand?
over to the audience.
Oh, no, man.
Yeah.
We were talking about setting the naming convention, right?
Yes.
We use asset tags. So are you able to do it where it systematically adds a new asset number to it? Because then we try to use the BG info and put it on the screen. So like, hey, what computer you are, we're able to see a little bit better.
Asset tag is like the BIOS asset.
We were using stickers, but we
Like an inventory in their accounting system or something.
I mean, as long as it has an API, you can get into it. If it's something on the endpoint, ImmyBot can handle it by running a local item on there. But if it's something where it's like in your PSA or your RMM, then we should be able. Hey, look at that.
Hey, look at that.
We're going to sit here for the next 4 hours.
Good thing we have another 6 hours.
Then yeah, you should be able to similarly programmatically do it, not through ImmyBot, but through something like Rewst or a similar RPA tool.
If you're using serial number, serial number, you can do it with ImmyBot.
Well, if you're trying to set an asset in a separate RPA.
There's an asset option in there under the naming, so you can actually set up like if you're already at like let's say 250,
Right.
you can just start it there and have it increment up when you add stuff in.
That'd be great.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can make it do
So
what
you
you
just
want.
assign a block of numbers to computers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want it to be ABC 1 2 3, you can have it like increment up.
Yeah, we're like 1100.
Good question here.
So in an organization that has successfully like sort of matured in terms of automation, how many people, like as a proportion, do you think you would have working on automation versus techs? Any ideas what that looks like?
How many?
I will walk the
Hi,
microphone.
friend.
Good question.
In an organization that is mature with automation, what would be your typical proportion of automators to techs? Any ideas off of that?
Kelvin, you do this in practice.
Yeah.
Yep, sure.
There you
We don't have a set ratio, but what we've noticed is once we started creating a culture of automation, we automatically started adding more automators because we noticed that our first line help desk became automators eventually. And because of that evolution, we needed less employees over time. So now we are, like I said, at 84 employees, about 80 FTE, let's call it that. 20 of those are actual full-time automators that do nothing but automation. That's a pretty high number, but you have to remember that with a team of 80, we are now managing a little over 50,000 workstations, which is it's an amazing result. It's the industry average is about 250 workstations per actual engineer. as business owners, please stop counting yourself as an engineer. You might think you're technical, but all of your people, if you have people, are more technical than you. Let's be realistic.
And there's another method of scaling too, where you're able to keep the same headcount while continuing to add even more assets. BJ, if you want to actually just take this and talk a little bit more about that. This is not sensitive. You want to put it like right there.
Yeah, right. Okay. To me, it's why would I hire people when we can build a better process? That's going to be, again, it's back to that scalability and that consistency. And the consistency has driven the efficiency and the growth of the company. We've been able to grow 20, 30% year over year with no headcount growth. Like that's the goal of what I'm looking for. And like we have one of our full-time technicians here. Next week, he's not, or this week he's not working set tickets. So it'll be fine. Like it's no big deal. Like my goal is to have their day happen. Because why do I want them to be busy when they can be, you know, it gives them time to think about what's next. So good. I'm nowhere near as efficient as Kelvin yet, but I'm working on that one.
You're getting close.
We're getting in.
So working on things like sharing code, one of the things that I had struggled with was how to communicate if there is a change that needs to be made. So I published a PowerShell module, very fun. But it's, you know, it's on GitHub, it's on PowerShell Gallery. How do I notify people? Like, what's the best way to notify people who are actually using this? Like, hey, this needs to be updated because there's a security issue. Telemetry seems invasive, but I don't really have any other ideas. So I thought.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about code that you're sharing, I don't know about.
Are you too close to something?
Let me turn it off.
Is it the roller ball?
Is it the ball? Like, is it the ball? It might be the ball, actually.
So I don't know anything about PowerShell Gallery much, but a lot of people publish on GitHub. And if you have a module on GitHub and your scripts are going to pull that module, you know, at runtime, always pull the latest version. That's one way of doing it. You know, within Rewst, it'll, you know, workflows are synchronized and you'll pull the latest version of things automatically.
I'm thinking more like for things that we're giving to the community, for
Right.
something to the community.
Okay. There's actually a good one.
Yeah,
You have one?
So you were talking about the PowerShell Gallery. Cool thing is, if you upload a package, re-upload a package with minus deprecated, it actually gives the user that downloads the module a warning. This module is now deprecated. Do not use it anymore. It just does bright warning. It doesn't break anyone's workflow, but people will start noticing, oh shit, I didn't update. Of course, most MSPs won't, because why would we update stuff, right?
Hey, oh, okay.
BJ, comment? We can hear you.
What's something you will not automate other than HR related?
What's something you will not automate that's not
besides
HR
HR?
related?
One of the most requested SIP features is, how do I disable MFA on all my user accounts? The second most requested feature is, how do I enable basic authentication on all my tenants in one go?
Seriously?
Okay, it hasn't been in a while.
It hasn't been in a while because basic authentication is not deprecated. Yay! But yeah, those kind of questions where people are talking to you about your product and people are like, oh, I want to use this to increase the security. I think that we all as vendors have a parental obligation to MSPs because, and like I said before, MSPs are idiots, but they're not idiots by choice. They're idiots because you can only use 5% of your brain power on all of your tools. And if you have 50 tools, you're already fucked.
Yeah.
So it's not that you are willfully ignorant or anything. It's just you need to keep going. You're going from, as an MSP, I know how it is. You stick your hands in one fire only to take it out and put it in another. That's how it works. We all should watch for is just that we enforce our standards. for all of our clients. And even if that might hurt us in the long run, by losing a single client, it will do you so much better that, imagine one day you're going to sleep and the entire world is hacked. You are sleeping soundly because you know you implemented things securely.
Yep.
That would be amazing, right?
Yeah, right.
So I wouldn't automate anything that directly affects my team and their relationships with each other. I will automate literally anything else that I can. I'm trying to automate myself out of every job. That's why I come to events, because I'm literally automating myself out of every goal I have. But building your team and keeping your culture really great is important. So don't use ChatGPT to make up your one-on-ones with them. Don't use, you need to still keep the human aspect to your companies.
Yeah, really, you should be automating to improve your interactions with your customers, not replace them.
Yep.
There's so much time to be saved on the repetitive things that should be freeing you up to have better discussions with your customers about what is hurting them on a day-to-day basis.
So you're gonna make a comment on that real quick, exactly as what you're saying?
Yeah.
Automate everything getting into your QBRs, but don't.
True way.
Your QBR.
Yes.
Yes.
Automate every step of getting into your QBR, getting your numbers, getting ticket counts, getting license counts, things that need to be updated, but do not just automate, sit back with the email to your client, make that face-to-face time to engage with them.
It's like literally the most important thing.
So before we take some more questions, we do have some time. I do want to go over the reset really quick. The demo gods have looked upon us favorably today. Praise be. We have a.
This is where my laptop falls off.
We're going to log in here.
That's what they're about to search for.
eTopGoat.farm, which is a real domain that I bought and have been renewing for probably longer than I should.
The shenanigans are real. You should check out my blog, eTopple.
Your blog, cyberdrain.com.
Yeah, exactly. eTopple.com.
This device is fully entered-joined. It should be getting logged in now. There's a demo user. The profile is set up.
Hi.
Hi.
Don't be rude. Say hi back.
Bonjour.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, call
Ready.
ImmyBot.
The device has been renamed. I will get back over here as soon as I can unplug this.
Don't drop it.
Cool. So we finished up our first maintenance session. We can see the name has been set. GF serial number LP TP for laptop. The ImmyBot session has run, so we can see the agent's been installed. We have the second viewer name and domain join. That is good to go. We can also see if we go back to this slide, we have to go through the Defender for Business onboarding, but I can look at Intune and I can see that SIP has also deployed out all of our enrollment policies. So we can see that we have deployment profiles. There's our SIP Autopilot profile matching all of our settings. All of our enrollment status pages are in there as well. We can see the configuration settings we had. I don't know if we actually imported any of those. Didn't. We might have removed it. Yeah. But everything on here has gotten in, and we should also have a Entra policy for sign-in as well under identity. But that's what it looks like. You will see, despite Cohen's complaining, that took probably less than 10 minutes to run through, not including the updates. But you're fully up and running again. This is what happens over lunch. You have a computer that is acting up, or software is working not quite how it should. When you go to lunch, give me 30 minutes to reset the device, 10 minutes for it to log in once you get to it, and then you are good to go back at a login screen. Back on the device here. We missed it. If you want to see more of the process, shameless plug for my other session here, but it went through an account provisioning. When you do the device onboarding, it'll apply all the device policies up front until you log into the device. It doesn't know who you are though. So at that point, it's going to go ahead and apply the remaining policies for user. We did have our Windows Local Business policy clone over, so it's going to have me set that up. If I haven't configured MFA, it may ask me to do so right now.
Skip for another time.
No.
Oh, you can't skip it.
Next. Be a good boy.
My phone is currently streaming, so I may not be able to do this. Please set up the PIN code and we'll get you into the environment. Alden, do you have a authenticator app you'd like to register?
He's got it.
Okay, we're gonna do this.
I wouldn't normally recommend this.
All right, let me know when someone scans it.
Oh, find it in email.
We'll onboard a new one real quick.
I won't say what it is though.
Nice.
Okay, raise your hand if you got that. We did.
Thank you for setting up MFA.
Good work, team.
Best practices.
It's almost like we spent 30 minutes setting up the standard best practices for a tenant should be. Same combination as my luggage, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Please don't steal the laptop.
Okay, I can't do that.
Random, thank God for sit.
Thank God.
I can't set my code to 11111.
And there's our computer.
Yeah.
I think the only other thing I had related to that was the reports within SIP. So let me see if I can get that up and running here.
Oh yeah, the tenant report.
Yeah.
Did we set up Outlook?
I went back with them and had them set all.
I don't know. Okay, no, actually it's not because I didn't tell it to install Outlook. The reason why our pre-day last year for MeBot had some issues is because we tried to install Office 365 suite over the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And it immediately fell over for everyone.
Yep.
So you'll take my word for it.
Live demos, do not recommend.
But yeah, that is the flow for Autopilot Intune, and that was legitimately done with a fresh tenant in 30 minutes. So when you're able to have the processes to know what good looks like and the tools to follow them, you're able to accelerate things. And all the time we spent to build that policy, we don't ever have to do it again. That policy is good to promote. Our onboarding process going forward, we acquire a new customer at MSP, which is so awesome. We get customers every single week, week after week. We just have to have them accept the GDEP link. That's going to automatically apply. You're sitting directly in front of him. That's going to automatically apply the remaining standards and baseline them just the exact same way as they were before. So,
this is right in standards. It's right in standards.
Standards? View standard report.
Standards.
Go to your GOAT template.
GOAT template.
Tenant report.
View
nice.
tenant report. Look at that. Boom. Boom. And we can see. So for each of these, we are compliant. One of them reporting disabled, non-compliant. This may also because it's a new tenant and I forgot to light up the Defender console before setting this up.
Yes.
Which, by the way, if you ever want to set up Defender policies, nobody actually uses Windows Defender on Business Premium. So you have to go into Defender and finish the SMB onboard flow before it actually turns these settings on for you. But we're able to go through here. This doesn't look right.
API prod when to eliminate that step.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you crusaded it already?
Try.
But I have seen auto-log results say something different, so this may just need to get refreshed because it hasn't been refreshed since 11:49 a.m.
It may need to run a second time.
Yeah, I'll let it run a second time, but you can actually within SIP go back and view the after it gets applied and updates itself, the remaining items on there. So cool. All right, we have 13 minutes. More questions?
I'll just keep asking questions.
Bring it on.
What's the name of all these cool products and where can I get them?
You just rebooted.
You haven't mentioned
This is the Cyberdrain improved partner portal, also pronounced CIPD because it makes it all laugh. This is a free and open source project with the opportunity to have it hosted through Cyberdrain for a nominal fee of $99 per month.
Just buy it.
Just buy it.
Just do it.
It's not priced per tenant or user, it is just per MSP. So you sponsor the project, it funds further development, some cool events that Cyberdrain is putting on, and you get your own instance that is automatically updated and managed by Cyberdrain. Other tool we've used is Rewst, and kind of in the background, I didn't show it off too much as far as the builder, but they have a booth here. We also will be showing off more of our workflows. Rewst is really a platform for being the conductor to the orchestra that is all of your MSP tools. People always ask, how does Rewst run code? How does it run things on 365? And the answer is, well, what API you're connecting it to. It'll use your RMM to run whatever it needs. It'll run all the API calls at its backend. It'll communicate to the tools. So Rewst is not necessarily doing the onboarding. It's saying, Microsoft, go set this up. Exchange, go do this. PSA, go ahead and log this step and create the user in the PSA. ImmyBot, go ahead and tag this device for this new user because they haven't shown up yet, but they know they want to use this one. So when it shows up at ImmyBot and we have a trigger for a new device detected, if it matches a serial number, go ahead and onboard it for that user. ImmyBot, they're also here in the vendor hall. Go say hi to them. This is the device prep. That is the fully desired state tool for the endpoint, so you're able to configure policies for across single tenant or individual level for desired state on the endpoint, whether that be software settings, anything that Intune can't do, ImmyBot does better, even if it can do it. Anyone who's familiar with deploying apps to Intune, about how long does it take for you to deploy the app? Maybe.
It feels like Microsoft time.
And if the deployment fails, what information do you get that you can use to debug why it failed?
Yes, Xerox AC.
You get a really pretty PNG of an X. ImmyBot uses PowerShell, both in its own Metascript engine and on the endpoint as system or user to run these. And when it's running, you see a live stream of logs. So as you're developing your installers and automations, or if anything has a problem, you're able to go into the platform and see exactly what happened when it happened.
It's sweet.
And we as Zetop, we do implementation on all of them. We've also been working to provide these tools all in one package if you don't already have them. If you do, that's awesome. We're not going to force you to switch where you get them from. We also have a booth downstairs. So if you have any questions for us, we don't bite. We're mostly friendly.
Yeah, come say hi to Robbie.
Go say hi to Robbie.
I'll be wearing suspenders.
That's what worries me.
We run very lean. We're big in automation, have been, should be. One of our biggest issues has been being very top heavy on work and being very bottom heavy on our engineers' experience, because we also did the hire for fit rather than skill and train up. How do you do that and stay lean in a heavy automation environment? A lot of my guys don't even have PowerShell experience. They're really just getting started.
Yeah, we've seen people come straight out of food service and hit the ground running. There's so many instances of like untapped talent out there. So you might get someone like that, or you may get somebody super seasoned that cannot grasp automation whatsoever. It's more of a personality than a skill level, really, because people will learn those skills and get up and surprise you more often than not. You have any?
I do. So I don't know where you live, but in Louisiana, we have a ton of grants that they give us for doing trainings in the state. We actually send everybody in our MSP to PowerShell training. I think I'm the only person who hasn't taken it. Even our dispatcher took it because we are so focused on automation. Everybody at least needs to understand a base level of what we're doing with PowerShell because we use it so heavily. So I would look into what your states are offering you. I think ours is like $4,000 a year for training. And we'll pay it back. So it at least gives them a base level to know what they're looking at a little bit.
Hi, microphone now.
Oh, no.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you all.
We're done.
We're done.
Sometimes having somebody that knows how to code is a detriment if you're using something like an RPA tool. I will tell you openly, Rewst pissed me off for a long time because it's a different way of thinking, and I think it is way more conducive to somebody without a ton of programming background than somebody that's done a lot of it.
I will second that. And I will say that it's conducive to everybody because it can grow with you and you can use your programming skills, or you can use some. Oh, is there a question behind me?
Yeah, that sounds good, Ashley. She took it away from me.
Thank you. I love it. Did you not answer your question? Didn't you hand it to me? You handed it to me, right?
Does anybody else? have a
You
question?
removed it very smoothly. Thank you.
Yeah, that's lovely, actually. No other questions?
To expand on that and the other question as well, it's, in our experience, easier to train the tech than it is to train the mindset. That being said, you need to find people who are okay with throwing away what they know so far and learning a new platform. That was something that I was having a struggle with doing. That drove BJ absolutely nuts when we started on Rewst, to the point that we almost stopped Rewst. And I had to kind of suck up the ego I had of, I can do this faster in PowerShell, or I can do this faster in function apps, or this other platform I have. I can do it differently in a different RMM, so I want to use that. And I had to slow down and be like, I know, but I need to give this a shot. I need to try. And then once I tried, it became the opposite direction of, I can make this faster in Rewst now, not because I know it better, but because it's a better fit for the job. Does Rewst solve every single problem? Is it perfect for all the things? No, we still make function apps as MTop for some people. We still write in PowerShell. It's not a one size fits all, but it's about as close to a platform as I think you can get. Most of the people that we have, there is a small group chat of people who are troublemakers in the community because we push the platform past beyond the limit of what it should be able to do, and then we get all frustrated because we're like, it can't do this thing it was never meant to do in the first place. Why is the square peg not fitting in the round hole? But that's part of it. You're going to reach a point, and a lot of the vendors, the reasons why I like working with ImmyBot, Rewst, and SIP specifically, both from a vendor, myself mindset, and a customer at the MSP, is they listen. Find the vendors who listen to your feedback, because maybe you're right. Maybe there's a better way to do things. Thank you, Jason, back there, for the question. There's another question here. I'll give you the mic.
Sitting in this way. Automation being such a deep insight into your onboarding client, onboarding machine, has that ever gotten you in a hole where you're trying to explain the automation to your client, like why they got sent the machine and it wasn't ready, it wasn't prepped, it's sitting on their desk now, or they're waiting until the lunch period to get a new machine. Curious, because automation can be great, but it can also be worse than it.
Yeah, a lot of it is setting expectations up front. A lot of our customers were very much used to getting it in the box and ready to go. And it's about how you communicate that value to them. Because then when you're considering the time it takes them to prep it and ship it back out, there is a significant longer time, especially for the customers we have that are almost fully remote themselves. Previously, we would ship it to our office, wait a day or two for someone to prep it and ship it out there. So it's communicated as a, yes, there's a little more involvement on your side to get this going, but we can ship it directly from Dell. When you tell us you have a new customer, 2 days later, it's at the door and it's ready to go. Part of it is also kind of massaging the technology. It is preferred on the Autopilot side to do user-driven onboards for devices, which is going to not do anything until the device is signed into it, because there's no identity linked to it at that point. For some of our customers, we're shipping out devices on a we're shipping out devices set up to deploy themselves device driven. So the device onboards first, and that's what installs ImmyBot. We still can't get context as far as what the specific user apps are, because we are tagging apps based on attributes. So like finance is QuickBooks, engineering is AutoCAD. That still has to install at the time the device is logged into for the first time. But if we can get 90% of everything else, if we have our security tools on there, our monitoring tools, they have Office ready to go, chances are they still have another few hours of like HR onboarding to go through. So if they can get into Teams and get on a phone call with the HR person, then that's all they do.
Got time for one more question?
Yes. Yeah.
I know there was a don't boil the ocean that came up a few times. Where do you decide that you suddenly started boiling the ocean when initially you were just trying to make cup noodles?
The fun part is you don't typically figure that out until you've already done it.
Well, I feel a little bit now.
Yeah. It's tricky. A lot of it comes from having the defined process blueprints, because if you already have that down and you have a human able to follow the process before you start to automate it, you have a better idea of what each step is and what the final total time saving you're going to have per run. from there, you're able to set some more specific guardrails on it, figure out how much time you want to reasonably automate it. If it's something that takes you an hour a week and you want to get it done in 3 months, that's 12 hours you can spend automating. And then after that point, you hit your ROI. If it takes more, if you're running up against hour 6 or 8 and you feel like you're not halfway there, then you might want to take a step back and be like, is this something where it may not be the best thing to do right now, or is there another way? So thinking about this.
Cool.
Any input from the rest of the panel?
No, I just had, I received a little note.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck you, buddy. Fuck you.
We're streaming, Calvin.
Aggressive.
I'm not going to be allowed on LinkedIn again.
So follow me on LinkedIn under Brandon before my account gets banned for streaming Kelvin's kind words up here towards his good friend Drew in the back. My final parting words, we are out of time. Thank you for coming here today so
Yes,
much.
thank you so much.
Sarah and Kelvin and Ashley for coming up here and spending time with it. Thank you so much to BJ for presenting this together. This was a cool effort. Hopefully you guys learned something. We'll be walking around. We'll be at our render booth. Come talk to us.
It is exactly
Enjoy the rest of the
4
conference. It is exactly 4 p.m.
Agenda master.
Yeah.
Good job. Press N.
So I'm really new. I'm not fully onboarded.